Order, Madam Speaker.
Let us have a silent prayer or meditation. Thank you, honorable members. We may take our seats. What point are you raising on, honorable member?
Thank you, Speaker. I rise on 52B, point of privilege, and I'd like to know who arranged the seating arrangements for the parties. It was never approved by any whips forum, and we found ourselves leadership, whips, and parties split here in the opposition. And we find it unacceptable. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. Let's note what you are raising. We will investigate and come back to that. Yes, honorable member, you are recognized.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise on 52B, point of privilege. It is a known fact that today is a start of the visit by the Constitutional Review Committee. And we want to find out why was it that sitting set to clash with that visit, which is starting in October today. It is a very clear indication that this House, a Premier, no Speaker, Deputy Speaker, have got no respect for the constitutional processes of this country, particularly the issue of land. We want the people of KwaZulu-Natal to know that the ANC is not serious about the return of its land. That's why it has set this meeting to clash with the beginning of the constitutional review public hearings. Therefore, as the EFF, we are not going to dignify this sitting here when our people are crying out for land. We must sit here and leave our people out. We are going to leave this House and go and lead our people in the constitutional review. Thank you.
We are noting the comments by the leader of the EFF. Order, honorable members. I hope that members will appreciate that what we are doing here today and in the last 2 days, it's in line with the Constitution of the Republic, but also in line with the rules of the House. Can you take your seat, honorable member? I will recognize you. I will recognize you now. And it's in line with the rules of the House. And what the House is doing is in the best interest of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. And there will always be competing programs of government. And we expect political parties represented in the provincial legislature of KwaZulu-Natal to deploy accordingly to various programs, but also respect the programs of the House. We are noting the comments by the leader of the EFF. At the right time, we will engage on that issue. Honorable Mwango.
Chair, Speaker, I'm standing on Rule 52 also. You can't say you're going to investigate. I can't be sitting here far away from my caucus. This is a sitting, and I want to be seated with my caucus as normal. So you can't say you're going to investigate. So I'm requesting that we don't proceed with this program of today up until we rearrange the sitting arrangement, please. The ANC sitting, as usual, why you disrupt us as the opposition? We can't accept that. It's undermining us, actually. Why don't you take ANC guys to come behind us here?
Can we take a point of order from Honorable Member?
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker.
Sorry, Mtombeni. Honorable Mngwango was making a follow-up on a point that was raised earlier on, that we are still going to come back and give a ruling on the issue. Now, I am affording Honorable Duma to raise a point of order, because I assume that what Honorable Mngwango was raising was not necessarily a point of order. Otherwise, according to the rules, there is no member that can raise a point of order over another point of order. So it was a follow-up on a matter that we are going to rule on. Your point of order, Honorable Duma.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker Siwa. Because we are recording on Hansard, we might as well encapsulate that that point of privilege is also incorrect first. It must be recorded that they use a wrong rule, so that we don't allow it as something that should be recorded, Honorable Speaker. That's what we wanted just to highlight, that DA, but it's not my duty to just tell them which rule they were supposed to utilize. So let us record it in that way, Honorable Speaker, so that it's understood correctly. Unfortunately, the leader, Zwagele, was extending something which is incorrect as well. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. No, thank you, Honorable Duma. Can we intervene on this matter, Honorable Chief Whip, with due respect? So that we don't, okay.
No, thanks very much, Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker. I won't deal with the first one, okay, because Honorable Duma has covered me correctly. Yes. So. Yes. It's a wrong rule that has been used. I just want to respond to the issues that were raised by EFF. EFF were part of the meeting of the Chief Whips, Chief Whips Forum that approved this sitting and these days, according to the arrangements. So they can't come here now and raise that issue. In fact, they are just grandstanding, because they are the ones who approved this date that will be debating the State of the Province address today. Thank you.
Okay. No, thanks a lot, Chief Whip. That is in order. We agree fully with you. We were part of all the meetings that we were preparing for the sitting. Can we go back to the issue, honorable members, that was raised by Honorable Rogers earlier? While we sustain the point of order raised by Honorable Duma, but going back to the issue raised earlier by Honorable Rogers, indeed, Honorable Rogers, you are correct. There was a bit of a miscommunication. Just to remind members that ordinarily, when the House or the sitting is out of our normal chambers, when there is a need to temper a bit with the sitting arrangement, we normally do so, but communicate with leaders of parties. Now, this is not an issue, the issue of the sitting arrangement. We have already communicated with the team of protocol and the organizers for the sitting that will take 2 minutes and rearrange what the honorable member was raising. We will do so quickly, then we proceed with our program. Honorable members, we have already indicated that we will allow this process for 2 minutes, then we reconvene. Yes, we have adjourned the House, Honorable Member. No, you are playing semantics. No, no, no. We are only correcting the seating arrangement. Can I request that we now settle down, honorable members? Honorable members, the House resumes. Let's all settle down. We apologize for that inconvenience. After the sitting, we'll continue to engage with everyone so that this does not happen again. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, Chief Whip and all whips, Chair of Chairs, Leader of the Official Opposition, honorable members, distinguished guests, members of the public, we are reconvening to continue with the business of the House. We will start with the obituaries and other ceremonial matters. Honorable members, it is with profound sadness that we formally note the passing away of Mr. Joseph Shabalala, founder of the late Smith Black Mambazo, who passed away on the 11th of February 2020 and was laid to rest on the 22nd of February 2020. Ms. Nokuzola Ndobe, sister to the Deputy Speaker, Honorable M. Ndobe, who passed away after a short illness. She was laid to rest on the 29th of February 2020. Prince Dlabeana Zulu of Osuthu was buried on Saturday, the 29th of February 2020. We are also indicating with profound sadness the 25 people. Of course, the number is still escalating, and we haven't confirmed the accurate number as of now of the people and many others that were injured when a bus rolled more than 200 meters down on embankment between Mazepa Bay and Kebe in Eastern Cape on Monday. Prince Olani Mkabateli Gasolomoni Katinuzulu of Ezbindini passed away after being shot during a hijacking in Johannesburg. The funeral will be at Enondweni, Mutu area on Saturday, the 7th of March 2020. Prince Bulei, a struggle activist and a teacher who passed away last Thursday in Denmark. We are extending our sincere condolences to all the families that are affected. On announcements, honorable members, we have received the following apologies. Honorable Ms. HGS Mavimbela is having a government engagement. Honorable Ms. N.M. Koza to leave early due to government engagement. Honorable Ms. M. Govender, government engagement. And Honorable Mr. V.H. Tabisa, agent commitment. On birthdays, honorable members, I want to take this opportunity to wish a belated happy birthday to the following members who celebrated their birthday during the months of January and February. Honorable B.M. Zuma was born on the 2nd of January. Honorable V.F. Tabisa was born on the 4th of January. Honorable T.P. Mtetwa was born on the 6th of January. Honorable M. Ndobe was born on the 19th of January. Honorable R. Virana, 21st of January. Honorable M.J. Nkwanyana, 30th January. Honorable V.R. Mlochwa, 4th of February. Honorable J.S. Ngumalo, 12th of February. Honorable N.M. Sbiya, 12th of February. Honorable N.N. Boyce, our Speaker, 19th of February. Honorable M.J. Mazibuko, 20th of February. Honorable S. Motley, 24th of February. May I take this opportunity to wish all of them well now and beyond. Honorable members, at this point we'll request the Honorable Premier to make announcements, if any.
Thanks, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker and members of this House, we wish to officially report to this August House about a reconstitution of the KZN Planning Commission. The term of 5 members of the Planning Commission expired toward the end of the year 2019, and there was already a vacancy in the Planning Commission. We have then reconstituted the Planning Commission as follows: Mr. or Dr. M. Msiwa as the chairperson, Mr. T.W. Mchunu as the deputy chairperson, and other fellow commissioners are Professor U. Bob, Mr. M.M. Mjali, Professor N. Gawe, Professor R.W. Green Thompson, Dr. L.N. Bengu, Mr. F.R. Brooks, and Dr. T.I. Nzimagwe. Honorable Speaker, on the second issue that we want to report, we start by emphasizing that our Constitution prohibits any discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. We've seen the development of some activities undermining freedom, dignity, and human rights of the lesbian, gays, bisexual, transgender, Q and intersex community. We wish to place on record that these activities or incidents are not welcomed at all, and they mark the same what happened to Gugu Dlamini in 1998. And therefore, we also wish to condemn the recent brutal murder of the 23-year-old musician Lindokuhle Cele in Umlazi. The last report, Honorable Speaker, the year 2020 marks an important milestone in the history of an African continent. It marks 60 years since 1960, and 1960 will be known as the Year of Africa, where a number of countries in Africa attained their liberation. 17 countries of Africa will be celebrating their independence, and majority of those countries were the former colonies of the France. We wish to confirm that as KwaZulu-Natal and Africa as a whole, we will continue to participate in the agenda of promoting Africa and African unity, especially during this year where our Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa, has been appointed as the chairperson of the African Union. We are saying this is the year of building a better Africa and a better world, advancing African Union's Agenda 2063. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Premier Siyabonga Khuzeni. We have one omission on the announcements that the Deputy Speaker will also leave earlier today, attending the Pension Fund Board of Trustees meeting in Cape Town that started this morning and ending tomorrow on Friday. Can we get an indication on tabling of reports and or papers? No tabling of reports or papers. We proceed to item 6, formal motions and notices by the Chief Whip. Honorable Chief Whip Ngamalala.
No, thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. It's a motion concerning the appointment of a trustee and alternate trustee to the Political Office Bearers Pension Fund. This motion is a motion without notice, moved under Standing Rule 97G with the unanimous concurrence of all members present in the House. The presiding officer is requested to put the motion to vote for approval as a resolution of the House under Standing Rule 95-2. Noting, one, that all members of the legislature are members of the Political Office Bearers Pension Fund. Two, the consolidated rules of the fund provides that management of the fund shall be vested in its trustees. Three, the consolidated rules further provide that the office of member trustee and alternate trustee shall be held by one trustee and one alternate who are members of each of the 9 provincial legislatures and elected by members of each of the 9 provincial legislatures. 4, it is therefore required that the House elect a trustee and alternate trustee to represent the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature. This House therefore resolves to elect one Honorable M. Ndobe as a trustee and Honorable L. Govender as alternate trustee of the Political Office Bearers Pension Fund. I so move. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. According to the rules, we must check with all parties if they accept this motion without a notice. Can we start with the Democratic Alliance?
Thank you, Speaker. The official opposition, the DA, supports the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Can we proceed to the IFP?
Thanks, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I don't know about the new official opposition, but the real official opposition, which is the IFP, supports the motion but wishes to correct that it is not Honorable L. Govender, it's P. Govender. Thank you.
Thank you for that correction on the name. Let's proceed to another party. EFF is not here. ACDP, is it here? Bishop.
Honorable Speaker, on behalf of minorities, we support.
Thank you, Honorable Mlojwa. Now there will be no need to go through all other parties. You have spoke on their behalf. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable Chief Whip.
Honorable Speaker, whilst we we understand a progressive move by Honorable Mlojwa, but he can't represent all parties. It must be a party that supports.
Okay. Let's take that guidance from the Chief Whip. Can we allow all other parties to indicate?
So ACDP support.
ATM support.
Honourable Speaker, the Minority Front supports this, but I just wanted to clarify one thing, whether it shouldn't be M. Governor, because that's what I think I read on the sheet. So I'm not sure.
Can you repeat that, Honourable Member? You are not audible.
I know I had read that it was M. Governor, so I'm not sure on the sheets that were given on the prior days.
Okay. Honorable members, we are now subjecting the motion with the correction to the House for adoption. Can all those that support the motion say aye? Those that don't support the motion say no. The motion is supported. Thank you. We are now proceeding to notices of bills or motions. Honorable Ngongo, is that a point of order? Okay.
Chair, just point of order, a point of clarity. The paper given to us says M. Governor. Can it be corrected? Because Chief Whip said L. Governor, there was a speaker said L. Governor, but this is M. Governor. Whom, so it says M here.
It's L.
But I'm saying here.
It's L.
I'm saying it says M here.
Sorry?
And second speaker, the Chief Whip was raising as a Chief Whip and asked all parties to make their submission.
Yes.
I didn't hear anything from the ANC, whether he was standing as an ANC or as just Chief Whip. I was hoping the ANC also says something, or maybe ANC don't support the motion, I don't know.
No, thanks. Honorable Chief Whip, you have raised the motion. Let's correct the issue of the initials so that we put it on records.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, the ANC support the motion for P. Governor to be an alternate.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thanks a lot, Chief Whip.
Just to clarify, M was a type error.
Okay. No, thanks a lot for that. We are putting it again to the House with the correction so that we are on records. Those who support the motion say aye. Those that don't support the motion say no. The ayes have it then. Thank you. Notices of bills or motions. Can we get an indication? We will take a moment and note all those that want to present motions. Let's just remain standing. Honorable members, while we are noting those that want to make or present motions, we just want to acknowledge that present in our midst are religious leaders of our province, members of the business sector, as well as leaders of various political parties. I saw the provincial secretary of the African National Congress. Thank you, honorable members. I hope we've noted all those that want to make or present motions. We will start with Honorable Dube from the African National Congress.
Ngiyabonga somlomo. Somlomo okuhlala kwanendle okulandela ngiyophakamisa kanjena. Lendlu iyakuncoma kakhulu ukusheshsha komthetho ukuba umnumzane uThabani Mzolo owabulala ngehluku umfundi wase Mangosuthu University of Technology uZolile Khumalo atholakale enamacala okubulala nokuba nezinhlamvu ezingekho emthethweni. Lendlu iyakuncoma lokhu futhi iyaqikelela ukuthi njengenhlangano ebusayo simelene nokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane ngakumbi abantwana bethu abasesikhungeni zemfundo. Ngakho ngiyophakamisa kanje ukuba sikwenze kube umgomo omile ukuba kulendlu sibe ngabanye babantu abazoba bavikeli babantwana bethu, sivikele nabesifazane abahlukumezekayo. Ngiyophakamisa.
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable Gumede of the IFP.
On the next sitting of this House, I shall move as follows. This House notes the groundbreaking campus health war room launched by the University of KwaZulu-Natal on Tuesday in a bid to fight the coronavirus outbreak. This House resolves to applaud the University of KZN for leading by example on this matter, to urge the KZN government to follow suit and intensify efforts of dealing and educating communities about coronavirus in all districts in this province, such as Herigwala, Ugu, Amajuba, Umzinyathi, and Utungulu. Thirdly, to call on government to ensure that all health facilities have access to enough clean water to promote hand washing as a way of preventing coronavirus. I shall so move.
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable Dipur from the Democratic Alliance.
Good morning. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I give notice that at the next sitting of this House, I shall move as follows. Noting that the University of Zululand has been shut down due to violent protests. Also noting that management at provincial government and at the university have consistently failed to address the issues of crime, crumbling infrastructure, and poor studying conditions at that university. Also noting that there is no police station within that area, and currently students have to rely on a police station at least 20 kilometers away. This House resolves to call upon the Premier and all MECs to urgently intervene in the ongoing crisis and make meaningful interventions, not just talk, that will help secure the campus, local student residences, and the community surrounding the university. I thank you.
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable Takure Rashpanch of the MF.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I shall move on the next sitting day as follows. Noting that in KwaZulu-Natal schools, learner drug use is becoming a significant problem. Further noting that the drug war needs to be fought with drug culture knowledge. This Honourable House calls on the Departments of Health and Education to form joint partnerships with community pharmacists who are trained drug-wise counselors to guide school drug-wise learner teams ranging from grades 4 to 9. These teams, as part of school safety committees, can use peer influence to overcome challenges to ensure mutual supportive educator-learner relationships. Moved by Mrs. Rajmansi.
Thank you, honorable member. Mhlonishwa Phakathi from the ATM. Okay. We'll then proceed to Mhlonishwa Umlotshwa from the NFP.
Mhlonishwa somlomo. Ngokuhlala kwalendlu okulandelayo ngiyophakamisa kanje. Sesiphelile izingane zesikole zishayiswa izimoto. Amalungu omphakathi kanye nemfuyo emgwaqeni wase-Emmaus. Sesingaphezulu kwa-38 isibalo sabantu abafile kuloya mgwaqo kusuka ngo-2004. Ngo-2004 umfundi waka grade 11 wakaHlongwane wayefunda grade 11 eMavumbuka wabulawa imoto. Ngo-2016 ekhona eMavumbuka umfundi wa grade 8 wakamabaso wabulawa imoto. Ngo-2017 umfundi waka grade 6 wakadladla e-Emmaus Primary School wabulawa imoto. Ngo-2018 umfundi wakamsibi wayenza grade 11 eMthende High School wabulawa imoto. Ngo-2019 umfundi wakamasibuko ka grade 3 esifiso kuhle full service school wabulawa imoto. Ngo-2020 February umfundi wakamabaso ubefunda grade 8 eMavumbuka wabulawa imoto. Ukubala nje abambalwa. Lendlu inquma kanje ukuba Mhlonishwa o-MEC Ntuli angenelele ukuba akhe ama-speed humps kanye nezindlela zokuhamba eceleni komgwaqo ama-walkways. Mhlonishwa somlomo ngiyophakamisa.
Siyabonga Mhlonishwa. Mhlonishwa Mthombeni we-ANC.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. In the next sitting of the House, I shall move as follows. The House notes that the issue of SAA as moved by the Premier Honorable S. Zikalala remains a progressive move. In the recent past, British Airways booklet revealed, and I quote, now operating an additional 44 flights a week within South Africa. This proves that the demand is there. What we need is prudence and efficiency within the budget measures. The House resolved to support both national and provincial in prioritizing this, which would have been a crisis to our workers and economic growth of KZN province and South African growth domestic product. I so move.
Siyabonga Mhlonishwa. Mhlonishwa Kabisa from the IFP.
Abantu somlo. Somlomo ohloniphekile ngithokoze egameni leqembu inkatha enkululeko ngokuhlala kwalendlu okulandelayo ngiyophakamisa kanje. Lendlu izwakalisa ukuthokoza okukhulu kwisilo sikaZulu uBhejane odlabakayise ngokuqikelela ukuhola isizwe nohulumeni wesifundazwe ngendlela eyakhayo nenombono wesikhathi eside esizayo. Sithi unwele olude hlanga lomhlabathi. Indlu ithokoza kwabadala abaqala uhulumeni wesikhathi sentando yeningi ngo-1994 ngombono omuhle ukwenza ukuba isilo sikaZulu sibe ubaba wesizwe ozovula isishayamithetho minyaka yonke okuyinto kaZulu kuphela eNingizimu Afrika. Sithokoza kumntwana okaphinda ngene uNdunankulu kaZulu owe evuka nendlunkulu nangezikhathi ezinzima waphikelela noma esesolwa ngokunakekela amafa namagugu kaZulu waphikelela ngoba wayekade enalombono walomlando osuphenduke igugu kuwonke shenge swalisa imbabazane kaMahaqa ume njalo kulokho kholelwa kukona Sithokoza kuwo wonke amakhosi asendlunkulu ngokusekela isilo nendlunkulu yonkana. Uma ngangemZulu ngangaba yini? Mhlokombani.
Siyabonga Mhlonishwa Kabisa, Honorable Mayor from the DA.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I hereby give notice that I shall move on the next sitting day of the House as follows. This House notes that the homophobic murder of Nqele in Umlazi has rocked the LGBTIQ+ community of KZN. Violence against the LGBTIQ+ community continues in our province. The House therefore resolves that this House condemns all violence and discrimination against the LGBTIQ+ community, and that the task team on the rights of the LGBTIQ+ community be re-established and regularly report to the Quality of Life Committee on its progress. I shall so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Mhlonishwa Manele from ACDP.
Speaker, sir, in the next sitting of this House, ACDP will move as follows. The King, Nebuchadnezzar, had a dream, and he forgotten what the dream was. He ordered his wise people, the magicians and the fortune tellers, to remind him of the dream and in the interpretation of the dream. When all they failed, then Daniel came and said, no advisor, no magicians, no fortune tellers can tell the king the secret of the dream. But there is God in heaven who revealed the secrets. He will tell the king Nebuchadnezzar what is going on to happen in the days to come. ACDP is happy that coronavirus has been known as an uncurable virus. And we are also glad to know and get the news that from the land of God, the land of Israel, God has shown them the vaccine of this virus. And he's going to continue doing so, because God is love.
Honorable Member, Honorable Mangele, we request that your motion is in line with the rules of the House in terms of the requirements, number of words, so that we don't end up making an address.
It's still less than the one for Mr. Kaula. It's too less.
No. Honorable Kaula, please take your seat. Can I attend to this matter? Then if you have a point of order, you will rise.
But my...
Honorable Mangale, please take your seat.
Speaker?
Honorable Mangale, please take your seat, sir. You don't measure your motion with a motion of another member, but we follow the rules and the requirements. Already the duration of time that you have taken demonstrates that your motion is beyond the number of words that are accepted. But we will subject it to verification. We will request that we end it there, then subject it to a verification. You have a point of order, Mhlonishwa Kaula. What point are you rising on?
On a point of order, Speaker, I would request that the member, in fact, I am objecting and demanding that the member withdraws that reference to Kaula's motion, because he has not counted the words in Kaula's motion. Can he please be asked to withdraw?
The order is sustained, Honorable Kaula. Mhlonishwa Mangele, because we have not, or you have not verified the statement or motion by Honorable Kaula, may you please withdraw your statement?
Somlomo, I withdraw the statement, but again, mine was not counted, Speaker. Mine was not counted. Or sometimes the pace how I read can be different than the pace others are reading. But the words are less than 100.
Let's allow you to finish, but if it doesn't meet the requirements, it will be disqualified.
I know that, Speaker.
Thank you.
In the next 16, I shall move so.
Thank you. So that was the only part that was outstanding. Thank you. Let's proceed, honorable members. We will now take Honorable Fraser from the African National Congress.
Ngiyabonga Somlomo. And the next sitting of this House, I shall move as follows. Women and children in South Africa continue living in fear because of gender-based violence and femicide. The Domestic Violence Act still has flaws in terms of protecting women. Believing that the strengthening and the tightening of laws will ensure that justice prevails and perpetrators of gender-based violence and femicide gets incarcerated. This House therefore resolves to welcome with both hands an announcement made by His Excellency, the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, during the SONA, of implementation of emergency action plan and also the reprioritizing of 1.6 billion to support, to fight it. And also to support the move to amend the Domestic Violence Act so that it better protects the gender-based violence and femicide victims. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Mhlonishwa Mazibuko from the IFP.
Mhlonishwa Somlomo, ngokuhlala kwalendlu okulandelayo ngiyaphamisa kanje. Lendlu sishayile ihlombe esinqumo senkantolo yaseThekwini ecaleni lokubulawa kwaSazana Zolile Khumalo wayengumfundi waseMangosuthu University of Technology owephuca impilo yakhe isigcwelegcwele sengithabani Mzolo omcela phansi ngenganono. Isahlulelo sejaji nompumelelo hadela sokulahla uMzolo ngecala singukuphela kwekhambo elidingekayo ezweni lakithi njengoba kudlanga imidlambila yenswelaboya ezihlalisa libhojoza besifazane ingane nabadala bethu. Lesahlulelo sisifundo futhi kuleyo mdlombe esaphikelele nokuhlumeza besifazane. Lendlu kunquma oqala ukuncoma bonke abezomthetho ababambe iqhaza kuleli cala eselinesikhathi eliqhubeka. Okwesibili ukunxusa inkantolo ukuba nxa isikhipha isigwebo imenze isifundo uMzolo kuzo zonke inswelaboya njengaye. Okwesithathu ukunxusa amaphoyisa nazo zonke inhlaka zomthetho ukuba ibambisane zithungathe zonke inswelaboya ezihlalise kabe isizwe. Mhlonishwa Somlomo ngiyophakamisa.
Siyabonga Mhlonishwa. Honorable Papas from the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Speaker. I hereby give notice that I shall move on the next sitting day of this House as follows. This House notes that rural communities remain marginalized and far from services. SAPS in rural areas are under-resourced and lack the capacity to protect our rural communities. Attacks on farmers, farming communities, and rural communities continue with little or no strategy to combat the increase in these often brutal crimes. This House therefore resolves that the Chairperson of Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio and the Chairperson of the Community Safety and Liaison Portfolio convene a joint meeting to interrogate the implementation of the 2010 Rural Safety Strategy and report back to this House, and that the MEC for Agriculture and Rural Development and the MEC for Community Safety and Liaison provide a detailed plan on steps that will be taken to protect our rural communities and farmers. Mr. Speaker, I shall so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Mhlonishwa Hlongwa Madlala from the African National Congress.
Somlomo hloniphekile ngokuhlala kwalendlu okulandelayo ngiyokuphakamisa kanje. Lendlu iqaphela ukubheduka kwesifo esibizwa ngokuthi coronavirus esesithatha abantu abaningi emazweni amaningi ahlukene okubalwa nokutheleleka kwabantu ezwenikazi iAfrika. Lendlu incoma futhi iqaphela imizamo kahulumeni wethu ngomnyango wezempilo kuzwelonke ukuvikela nokufundisa kabanzi ngalesi sifo. Lendlu iphakamisa kanje ukuthi isifundazwe sethu KwaZulu-Natal ngomnyango wezempilo uqinise futhi ugxilise umkhankaso mayelana nalesi sifo ukuze sigweme ukutheleleka kwabaningi. Ngiyophakamisa somlomo.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Motley from the IFP.
Honorable Speaker, on the next sitting day of this House, I shall move as follows. That the escalating taxi violence be viewed as a priority crime. The MEC of Safety and Security and his department must explore tangible solutions to stem the domination of warlords and bring a swift and complete end to the violence that permeates the industry. The warlords must know that they are not above the law and will face the full wrath of the law if they continue to slaughter and run the reigns of terror. The taxi violence has placed all road users at risk and tainted the image of our province and cannot be allowed to continue unabated. This I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Rogers from the Democratic Alliance.
Diabolela Somlo. This House notes that during the State of the Nation address, Honorable Zigalala assured the province that his mission was once again to create a capable, ethical, and developmental state to address radical economic transformation. This House therefore resolves, 1, to call on Honorable Zigalala to institute an investigation into the dysfunctional Department of Agriculture. This after the disgraceful and inadequate responses recently supplied to the SCOPA hearings. It is clear that this department has been captured. If Honorable Zigalala believes that RASIT will be implemented by this department in its current state, then he's living a dream. 2, the DA will call on the Speaker to table a special debate on the state of the Department of Agriculture in KwaZulu-Natal. I shall so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Majola from the African National Congress.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In the next sitting of this House, as ANC, I shall move as follows. This House notes the proactiveness by the Department of Health in ensuring that 4 identified hospitals for case management of all confirmed cases of coronavirus, namely the Grace Hospital, the Eddington Hospital, KwaDlangeza Hospital, and Mangozi Hospital, are really ready to take up the duty. Secondly, ensuring that all health facilities are ready to manage cases preliminary before transferred to sites of treatment. This House resolves significance of department to be given a slot to come and brief honorable members on the roadmap of this outbreak and its impact on human resources in case it eventually reaches our province. I shall so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Msimango from the IFP.
Mhlonishwa somlomo. Lendlu yakunaka ukuthi sokuphenduke isiko kuhulumeni walelizwe ukuthi uqhakambise kakhulu amagalelo amaciko uma esedlule emhlabeni. Kodwa uma esaphila akawagqisi iqhakalo ukuthi akhona. Lendlu ke inquma kanje. Unxusa uhulumeni ukuthi aqhakambise amaciko esaphila engakadluli emhlabeni. Okwesibili unxusa ukuthi zonke izinkinga amaciko ahleze khela ngazo ziyanakwa ungalindi ukuthi azedlule amaciko emhlabeni. Okwesithathu unxusa uhulumeni ukuthi asheshise kuphasisa umthetho ovikela ukuxhashazwa kwamaciko ngokwezimali imboni yobuciko namasiko. Mhlonishwa somlomo ngiyaphakamisa.
Siyabonga mhlonishwa. Honorable Verana from the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hereby give notice I will move as follows. Noting yesterday Premier Zikalala failed to provide any lasting solutions to the Ugu water crisis. Currently, there remains hundreds of thousands of South Coast residents without water, and this is due to decades of lack of maintenance, financial mismanagement, and labor strife. Cocter lost and still can't account for the over 200 million rand of water disaster management fund. This reeks of corruption. And 3, all residents of the Ugu district deserve better from their government. That this House hereby resolve, the Premier immediately declare the Ugu district municipality a disaster area regarding water and provide some additional resources. We call on the Provincial Police Commissioner to deploy specialized units to protect municipal infrastructure, investigate and arrest these criminals. And the MEC of Cocter should immediately intervene to end the continuous financial mismanagement and ensure the proper administration of the district. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Mtetwa from the IFP.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the next sitting of this House, I shall move as follows. This House note that the Department of Basic Education announced the comprehensive sexuality education program to be rolled out in public schools. This House resolves to remind the Minister of Basic Education that education is a societal matter and all stakeholders, especially parents, AMACOs and communities, deserve to be extensively consulted when new programs are introduced in schools. And to urge the MEC of the Education in KZN to urgently consider implementing community consultation programs for parent, AMACOs and other stakeholders regarding the sexuality education in this province. I shall so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Mavuso from the African National Congress.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. In the next sitting of this House, I shall move as follows. This House notes that we are in the 4th Industrial Revolution, and further notes that our learners in rural areas are left behind in terms of required and appropriate technological skills. The House believes that all learners must be equipped with IT skills. This House therefore resolves to welcome the government's initiative of introducing coding and robotics curriculum in grades R to 3 in 200 schools across the country for full implementation in 2022. I shall so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Ngwanyana from the IFP.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. On behalf of the IFP, on the next sitting of this House, I shall move as follows. This House notes a female doctor was assaulted after a patient she had operated on died shortly after the medical procedure. Reports began circulating on various media platforms that a group of men stormed the landmark New Shifa Hospital in Sydenham and attacked the doctor. The doctor, believed to be a gynecologist, was violently attacked and suffered serious injuries. This House resolves, 1, to call for more improved security measures in all hospitals, irrespective of whether they are private hospital or public hospital. 2, to send heartfelt condolences to the family of the deceased
patient, I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The last member will be Honorable Mjali from the African National Congress.
Thanks, Honorable Speaker. In the next sitting of this House, I shall move as follows. Noting the initiative taken by the Premier to form a task team which is led by the MEC of Education, Mshengu, in dealing with intervention on the student unrest within the higher learning institutions in KZN. This must be supported by all stakeholders and leadership of student organization in partnership with the Department of Higher Education, which must also be involved within the province, including all the institutions within the province. Therefore, the House resolves to continue leading this process while cautioning and condemning students on the banning of the buildings of the universities. While we believe that their issues are genuine, however, they should be able to participate and deal with all those issues that are affecting them in partnership with the management and the task team led by the MEC of Education, as mandated by the Premier of the province. I shall so move.
Thank you, honorable members. That concludes the notices of bills or motions. We will now proceed to item 8, and I will invite the Honorable Speaker to preside over 8.1 as well as 8.2.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Greetings to the honorable members. Now, we are starting the debate on the State of the Province address that was delivered in this House yesterday by the Honorable Premier. The first speaker for 13 minutes from the ANC is the Honorable Leader of Government Business, Ndube Ncube.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Honorable Premier of our province, members of the Executive Council, and all the distinguished guests, comrades, fellow citizens. I rise to address this House, and I wish to salute the Honorable Premier for the strong leadership he has displayed since we started this term of office in the administration. A day before yesterday, State South Africa announced that the country had slipped into recession. We fully acknowledge that this will have devastating effects on the lives of ordinary members of the society. In his State of the Province address, Honorable Premier Zikalala presented a pro-poor speech. He understands that this government is only hope for millions of people who remain trapped in abject poverty. The theme to go together, creating a common future, explains why efforts...
Excuse me, our watch has started afresh. You have your 3 minutes, now we are restarting it until I say so.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The theme together, creating a common future, explains why all efforts must be focused on how the economy of this province must be turned around for the better. Honorable members, KwaZulu-Natal needs a focused leadership. That is why the ANC, led by the Honorable Premier Zikalala, is well positioned to provide such leadership. The ANC has worked hard to earn its position for respect, which is neither automatic nor can be taken for granted. Job creation remains central to achieving government's objectives of inclusive growth. We remain committed towards broadening economic participation in the economy, reducing dependency on welfare system. Yesterday, Honorable Premier spoke at length about the importance of the SMMEs cooperatives. He identified those instruments aimed at fast-tracking the entry of previously disadvantaged communities into the mainstream economy. He did not only talk about the SMMEs, but he spoke about what is it that the government is doing to support the SMMEs in order for them to thrive within this depressed economy. He spoke about the measures such as ensuring that government pays on time. He spoke about the measures such that the government is assisting these entrepreneurs with skills development as well as the support. All government departments are also involved in creating job opportunities, with Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs also looking at the economic planning for our province. The support of this vision of the Premier of ensuring job creation over the past financial year, he indicated the number of jobs, more than 38,000 jobs through the Enterprise Development Fund that has been budgeted for. In addition, more than 1,603 jobs were created by the youth-owned enterprises with the budget that has been spent. About 1,382 jobs were created by women-owned enterprises, and these are tangible achievements that cannot be ignored nor be underscored. Madam Speaker, we are encouraged by the progress we are making with regards to women empowerment. We're informed by the World Bank that female entrepreneurs make significant contribution to the economic growth, to poverty reduction around the world. Over the years, we have attempted to use Itala as an instrument for transformation of the province's economy in favor of our women. The Itala Imbogoto Iazenzela Women in SMME Awards is an annual event which has proven and showcased the work that is being done by women all around our province. And it is comforting when ordinary women from deep rural areas in the township testify that through the support from this government led by the ANC, they have been able to get to those much needed jobs. In the Operation Vula, the Premier indicated our major focus that has been to ensure access to finances to enable even those in the rural areas to be able to venture into the SMME and cooperatives. The funding mechanism of small players have been strengthened with Operation Vula. Thank you, Honorable Premier, for indicating this. In the SOPA, you revealed that the process of adjudicating more than 2,841 applications that have been received from October last year was almost complete. We can further confirm, Honorable Premier, that the fund has approved more than 131 applications to the value of 28 million. This is a clear indication that we will definitely be dispersing the monies to all the applicants as announced by the Honorable Premier in stimulating the entrepreneurs. Another important entity, Honorable Premier, that I've mentioned, which has made equity investment in some strategic project, that more than 400 million has been provided to Black industrialists-led project. We are encouraged for more entrepreneurs to come forward following a call by the Honorable Premier. In addition, we are reporting that yesterday we wish to announce that Itala over the years has also approved the SMME loans, including more than 400 million for more than 465 entrepreneurs in agriculture, manufacturing, construction, energy, tourism, and other sectors. And through the finance provided to SMMEs, this has facilitated more than 552 job opportunities to which we are available, Honorable Premier, to share these numbers, the names and IDs and where these people are in our province. Furthermore, the development of the finance institution have approved the housing loan budget through Itala to enable members of the society to own their own homes and land. The high unemployment, honorable members, in the previous records of the provincial government performance, all reports progress in the service delivery were punctuated by the remark that the inequality is rising in our country. High employment inherited from the apartheid past has been a significant dent in the past years, and the ANC government with making sure that unemployment is really dealt with, and it comes down with the number of population that we see on the daily basis losing job. The radical economic transformation program, as outlined by the Honorable Premier, is aimed at addressing that inequality. Clearly, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, government resources are being allocated in strengthening the provincial government radical agrarian socio-economic transformation program, or RASET. In addition, and practically by the Premier, we can report that 15 Isuzu trucks, 10 Toyota 4x4 bakkies, 10 2-tons trailers have been made available to our communities to transport their agricultural produce so that they are able to reach the market. And that means immediately those SMEs are able to realize their income and they're able to thrive and go back and ensure that they grow those economies in the rural areas in particular. But we've also gone ahead, honorable members, to ensure that the market opportunities is guaranteed, the food security for our young people and women, especially those involved in agriculture. This government has ensured that government is procuring from these people, from communities in the rural areas, as well as in all areas of KwaZulu-Natal in the school nutrition program. Honorable members, the pattern and the pace of economic growth needs to be adjusted and be accelerated in the face of economic challenges. We're excited, though, that the continued commitment from the captains of industry to join hands with government to stimulate the generation of employment opportunities and ensure inclusive growth is indeed yielding results. And in this regard, we wish to applaud our President Cyril Ramaphosa, His Excellency, and our Premier Zikalala for working tirelessly in promoting investment to our province. The province highlighted the investment in our province in the IDZ of Dube Trade Port and Richards Bay IDZ, totaling more than 15 billion. This is not a pipe dream, but it is practical projects that we can name, and we are going to give details as the Honorable Premier has indicated. In addition to this, Premier highlighted the companies that have come to invest. Conlog is one of those that has just launched the manufacturing of smart meters for the whole country and even to export to the rest of the world here at the Dube Trade Port. And over and above this, Premier also indicated that we have a number of companies that have shown confidence in our province to come and invest here in KwaZulu-Natal. And I want to mention a few, including Hulamin, who has migrated from Johannesburg and Gauteng, and they've now consolidated their businesses to be based solely here in KZN. Further to that, DeFi is also consolidating its businesses, moving their businesses from East London to be based here in KwaZulu-Natal. Further to that, Toyota and its board meeting is going to be moving that they move a new construction of their vehicles for exporting to the rest of the world to be manufactured here in KwaZulu-Natal, moving from Japan. And if that is not practical ways of ensuring how aggressively this government is dealing with the issue of unemployment, angazi ukuthi bafuna ukuthi sithini. Madam Speaker, we are excited that more investors are coming forward to invest in this province, and we have also have our economic council, which consists of organized labor, organized businesses, civil society, who have all pledged to work with this government to ensure that we grow our economy, but we are all hands on the deck and we are all singing from the same hymn book. Most importantly, Honorable Premier indicated that in the Richards Bay IDZ, we have new investments that are coming in there, and we will be giving more details, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, because of time. In the cannabis industry, Honorable members, we have set up an innovation hub that is dealing and assisting our people within the Moses Petane Institute.
MEC, thank you.
Aw, Nkosi yami. Ey, kusasele kuningi kangaka.
The next member is going to be Honorable MB Gwala for the IFP for 12 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier and colleagues, let me first register the apology of the Honorable V.F. Tlhabisa, Leader of the Official Opposition and President of the IFP, for not being present today. He has been asked to speak at the Black Business Summit to provide guidance on the economic distress our country finds itself in. The present crisis requires leaders of integrity to speak the truth and provide hope. Honorable Speaker, when we listened last month to the State of the Nation address and when we listened yesterday to the State of the Province address, we are reminded of that famous book, A Tale of the Two Cities, in which Charles Dickens wrote the following: "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us, we were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct the other way," unquote. This great writing best depicts the scenarios we are experiencing in South Africa and KwaZulu-Natal today. We are in a time of extreme opposite and very little in betweens. We have high levels of unemployment and very few employed. We have a huge gap between very few well-to-do and a majority poor. Very few haves and a majority have not. We are at a time of great controversies and contradictions. We are at an historic crossroad as a nation. We want to grow the economy of our province, but we have elements of undermining and disrupting our efforts to this objective, both within and outside the government. We want to fight corruption, but we have elements from within which are promoting corruption and capture of the state. We want to fight crime and violence, but we have elements within government which are colluding with criminals. We want to fight evil, but elements from within are undermining these efforts. We want to promote good governance and the rule of law, but the agents of darkness are fighting hard to erode this. We are at a time when greater cooperation is needed between and among all the citizens of goodwill of our province, so that together we can work for a prospering KwaZulu-Natal. But it's all start with government. Your government, Mr. Premier, must begin to walk the talk and honor promises and commitment made during every State of the Nation address or of the province address. Government promises jobs, but our province continues to lose jobs. Unemployment has risen to 26.1% in KwaZulu-Natal. Economic growth for South Africa, which was estimated at 1.4% at the beginning of 2019, ended up at 0.7%. The important economic sector of mining, farming, and manufacturing all recorded a sharp decline. The contradicting economic growth for South Africa is so bad that it is below the population growth of the country, KwaZulu-Natal included. the poor performance of the economic is further exacerbating the unemployment pressures, poverty, and inequality in the province. Actually, South Africa is recorded as having one of the highest Gini coefficients in the world. As of today, government debt is at 3 trillion rand, which is between 60 and 70% of the GDP. Minister Mboweni has estimated that this debt will rise to 80% of the GDP by mid-2020. We borrow more than we are able to generate. Moody's has long downgraded us from stable to negative. Our country is in a recession, and we cannot hide the truth or separate this province from the reality of economic collapse. As much as the IFP compliments the Premier on what is being done, we would be abandoning our responsibility if we pretended that it is enough to rescue KwaZulu-Natal from distress. It doesn't come near to solving our problems of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. The State of the Province address is intended to report on the progress being made. Let us therefore consider the commitments of SOPA 2019. To mention but a few, the following projects were promised to stimulate the economy: the Mkhuzi Airport City Development valued at 2.8 billion, the Durban I-Wheel Bay based in eThekwini at 325 million, a 35 billion world-class beachfront promenade on the Durban beachfront, which would include residential unit, business outlet, and restaurant, 5 to 6 hotels, as well as A and B grade blocks. Where are these projects, Mr. Premier? You promised the drilling of oil and gas as part of the ocean economy and the building of a fish processing facility and provision of refrigerators to cooperatives by EDTEA. You said that soon the RBIDZ would have a sword-turning ceremony for the construction of a 1.3 billion palm oil refinery. Where are these projects, Mr. Premier? You said that plans were underway to ensure that KwaZulu-Natal remains a leading destination for domestic tourism. Instead, SAA has been put under business rescue. In their bid to stay afloat, they have shut down all their flights to and from King Shaka International. With the national carrier slapping the province in the face like this, how can the province achieve its objectives? The Premier committed to the creation of 30,000 jobs through targeted foreign direct investment in the next 5 years. In addition, more than 10,000 jobs would be created through intensive export promotion. Can the Premier give an account in respect of development with the creation of these jobs? The Premier committed that the province was going to spend 12.250 billion in 2018 and 13.265 billion in 2019 on infrastructure development in the province. But even with this kind of budget committed, the people of KwaZulu-Natal have continued to suffer enormous backlog of infrastructure and poor service delivery with no noticeable changes in their lives. Hence, the service delivery protest in KwaZulu-Natal almost every day. It is our duty as representative of the people to tell it like it is. We are all fighting for the same things. We are all worried about poverty, unemployment, and inequality. We therefore welcome statements of intent of how our government will meet the huge and dire challenges before us, but there needs to more than good intention. Good intention will not save this province. During this the response to the State of the Nation address in Parliament, Principal Mangosuthu Buthelezi urged the focus to be placed on local government, for this is where our people need are best understood and met. The resources of state therefore need to get from the top down to the municipalities where they are needed. Accordingly, we were pleased to hear the Premier saying that attention will now be focused on the local sphere of government. During the budget speech, the Minister of Finance indicated that 426 billion has been allocated to local government. He emphasized the need to build new infrastructure and to maintain existing infrastructure. The IFP contends that more than anything else, money is needed to assist our people to have self-help and self-reliance. We need to assist and support projects of agriculture and small businesses so that families can put food on the table. It is good that money will be allocated to learnerships and the expanded public works programs. But unless we focus first on empowering, equipping and assisting our people towards self-reliance, poverty and hopelessness will deepen. We need to take concrete steps, particularly to address unemployment. The tourism and hospitality sectors are among the highest employers of our province. The farming sector also provides thousands of job opportunities. But both government and employers are letting down the citizens of our province in the provision of employment opportunities in these sectors. The labor law is very clear. Foreign nationals can only be employed in scarce skills where South African citizens are not available with those skills. Even before you employ a foreign national in a scarce skill area, there is a process which involves a number of departments and their approval and clearances. Admittedly, being a waiter, waitress in a restaurant or hotel is not a scarce skill. Being a petrol attendant at a filling station is not a scarce skill. Being a truck driver is not a scarce skill. Being an Uber driver or metered taxi driver is not a scarce skill. Being a farm laborer is not a scarce skill. But check who in our country are employed in these jobs because of the poor application of the law by our government. Many of these jobs opportunities which could have been available to our citizens have been denied to them by the illegal employment of foreign nationals through cheap labor practices. As a result of this concern, the IFP will be introducing a private member's bill in Parliament to force the application of quotas in the employment of the foreign national so that companies and employers will be forced to prioritize South African citizens for available job opportunities. We need to equip the next generation to take up job and create jobs. Education is a key to our future success. Let me therefore congratulate MEC Mshengu and his entire team at the Education Department for remarkably improving our NSC 2019 result. Well done, MEC, and bravo to the matric class of 2019. On behalf of the IFP, I wish to extend our gratitude also to all the educators, parents and learners, and everybody else involved. We thank the unions for their visible cooperation with the programs of the department. But Honorable Mshengu, this was largely an improvement in quantity. Let us now work toward achieving improvement in both quantity and quality. A sizable number of our matriculants have been denied access to universities because of the low level of points that they have scored. When commitments are made toward the education of our youth, this commitment must be honored. In 2019, government committed to the migration of the responsibilities for ECD centers from social development to basic education and the process toward 2 years of compulsory ECD for all children before they enter grade 1. This has not happened. Government committed that over the next 6 years, it would provide every school child in South Africa with digital works, books, and table device. This too has to happen.
The next member is going to be Honorable M. Duli of the DA for 10 minutes.
Madam Speaker, who's going to this part? Or can I get myself on with me? No, it's a cellular. I'm going to this part. Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's clear that KZN deserves a DA-led government. Madam Speaker, let me begin by saying that the Democratic Alliance is very committed to working with anyone who is prepared to put our province first. We love this province and we find the state that it finds itself to be heartbreaking. And though we believe that this province deserves a DA-led government, we are still willing to help by giving solutions to how we can sort some of the problems that the Premier alluded to yesterday. Now, I want to start by just correcting one of the facts that the speaker before me, MEC Dube, said about Conlag. This is a company that's been in this province since 1965. It's just only moved to the Dube trade port, but it's always been there, so it's false to claim as though it is new job creation. Yesterday, during the State of the Province address, Premier Zikalala was in a very unique position to offer hope to the people of KZN. Instead, we got much of the same, and we really didn't get any real commitments to seeing how clean...
Honorable member, excuse me. Honorable Virana, Doctor, what you are doing is not done in the House. There is media that does the recording in the House on behalf of everybody. Refrain from what you are doing. Thank you. Honorable member, apologies.
Thank you. So we were expecting the Premier to announce some changes that would stop the further collapse, particularly of our municipalities, and the implementation of Section 139 of our Constitution into more of the municipalities that we have. Instead, we got some very vague rhetoric about how things are working when it's very clear that they're not. All masipala are the lifeblood of this province, and so if they do not work, then it means that our province is not working. If people are not getting basic service delivery, it means that our province is in a state of collapse. With 9 municipalities under administration and our capital city that we're in now being one of those, it's very clear that the Premier has either been misled by the Cocta department or he has no handle on the situation. We only have 1 municipality that has managed to get an unqualified audit in the whole province. And yet, when it came to municipalities, we saw the Premier spend precious little time on that. Msunduzi, where the governing party has basically reduced the capital city to a rubbish bin with litter everywhere and sewage, with rats so big that they have formed their own gangs and are scaring humans and spreading disease. Yesterday, Premier, you said that the landfill and refuse situation in Pietermaritzburg was stabilized. This is not true. Of the 19 refuse vehicles that there are, only 2 of them are operational, sometimes. Honorable Premier, you've forgotten the people of Ugu. You spoke at great length yesterday about all these people that have been contacting you on Facebook about a great many things, and you forgot that we too are contacted by people on Facebook. The Democratic Alliance in that seat over there has thousands of Facebook comments from the people of Ugu saying that the government has let them down. 1 million people in your province in Ugu are living without water. They don't know when they'll have water. They don't know when schools are going to be shut down because there are no water. Children are sent home. Clinics are not operational. Tourism, which is the backbone of that community, has been crippled and thousands of people have lost their jobs. And yet we barely saw anything about this in your speech. In fact, it was just half a page. This has become a huge crisis. In fact, it is a human rights crisis, with the gift of the givers being the only real service delivery that's giving water to those people. An indictment on you and the Cocta MEC. And instead of implementing Section 139, we have you sitting on your hands, talking about water tankers. Those same water tankers, 30 of them, only 5 are operational, and none of them are actually in the field. You spoke of the 92 Jojo tanks in Ugu. But what you failed to mention is that not one of them is working because they're sitting in the depot because there are no stands for them. That is the state of our municipalities and the state that you didn't outline properly in your speech yesterday, Premier. Across our province, you could have been making a difference, making sure that officials who are being found to have been corrupt are actually fired. We heard about 2 that have actually been dealt with. Now, I don't think that the people of KZN will find that to be something that they can have faith in. There are forensic reports sitting on your table that show the politicians and the officials who have been corrupt, and yet we can boast about only 2 of them that have been dealt with. As a Democratic Alliance, we have for years been asking for strict controls around accountability and lifestyle audits for politicians. This seems something that the Premier and his government or political parties seem very wary of doing. And the reason and the question we must ask is why. Because it isn't difficult to do. We've done it in the Western Cape. Last year, all of us as members of the legislature went to do oversight in various municipalities. Mombofane, Ebrombe, Abakulusi, Newcastle, even Ladysmith, where the Cocta MEC is from, are communities that are basically in chaos. because there's been no delivery under COCTA. But like I said, because KZN deserves a DA-led government, I want to put some solutions on the table. I want to help this government. Because the situation in the Western Cape could not be more different. We boast 79% clean audits and the lowest irregular expenditure and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. In the Western Cape, when our people talk to us, whether it's on Facebook or anywhere else, we listen, and more importantly, we deliver. The people of the Western Cape asked us to act against corruption, and we did. We launched lifestyle audits for all cabinet members in that province at the beginning of last year. They asked us to cut the frills and spend more on services, and we listened. Through a second review of the provincial ministerial handbook, the DA has created even further savings on top of the hundreds of millions we've already saved over the last 10 years. We are here to help. And to the people of KZN, we are here to lead. Under agriculture, we're very disappointed that the Premier gave very shallow plans that we believe either show a misunderstanding of the issues facing the sector or the reiteration of plans that have been there for 25 years that really aren't working. The province, from the Premier's speech, seems to be activity-orientated, talking about giving seeds, giving trees, giving all of these things, but not developing and not building capacity. Agriculture is an important sector. It's important for our food security, job creation, and rural development. We can't be talking about the same plans for the past 25 years as we heard in the Premier's speech again. One thing that we do welcome is the cannabis industry is being supported. And I see MEC Ngonyeni is wearing something to that effect, so we agree. But with that, we ask for proper regulation around the industry before we start giving out permits, because we know that once that happens, only certain people are going to get those permits. And here's where we come in with some solutions that can help the Premier and his government. If the Democratic Alliance was leading KZN, we would be building capacity to tackle biosecurity-related threats to us securing our borders. We would directly subsidize rural safety by doing things like farm watches and farm patrols. We would work with farming associations to build public-private partnerships and developing emerging partners. This is what our government should be doing, not just giving people and then not capacitating them. Most importantly, we would transfer all the land that is leased by small-scale farmers into full title ownership. That is giving people the ability to create their own futures instead of being dependent on government. That is what people of KZN want from our Premier, not just to be given seeds and other things. We will be calling for an implementation of an outcome-oriented approach instead of an activity-driven approach. And importantly, we would intensify the program to build farm workers proper houses with electricity and water. To this effect, we're going to be calling for a debate in this legislature, both on farm murders and rural safety, but also on the agricultural sector and how we can use it to build KZN's economy once more. It was interesting to us that the Premier barely touched on education. And maybe that's because the budget of education and health have been slashed. Something that is not going to help achieve the very lofty things that he said were going to be happening. MEC Mshengu is going to be speaking a little bit later. Perhaps he could have helped the Premier to explain why we still have 300 unqualified teachers who are operating illegally in our schools and who are being paid millions when we have qualified educators sitting at home. The sexual offenders list continues to be ignored with KZN. In the Western Cape, we are putting it to use and we've stopped many sexual offenders teaching our schools. But here in KZN, we don't do that, and so we have teachers raping kids. And then we want to talk about a sex education curriculum that's going to be taught by those same-sex offenders. I think it's important also to make sure that we correct the miscommunication that was done earlier. The real pass rate of our province was just over 39%. This is a crisis that the Premier needs to speak on, but he already skirted that issue. On health, our province has 23 billion on medical negligence claims. This is unacceptable in a province with so many health problems.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, I'll be back.
The next member is Honorable N.M. Sibiya of the ANC for 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Sibingelele, undunankulu wesifundazwe saKwaZulu-Natal uKhuzeni nama members wonke sishamthetho. Speaker, let me just say a few things before I get into what I prepared to raise in this debate. Honorable Speaker, the two speakers before me, I wish they just came out here or came in here and just presented to the people of KwaZulu-Natal what they can do. Because the ANC has clearly told the people of KwaZulu-Natal what it's going to do. Instead, they are just questioning, raising accusations and doing nothing. They remain parties that can never lead this province because they are not solutions. But let me just focus on the last speaker who was here. What a joke, Honorable Speaker. The person who was here present herself today as a leader of the DA, of which we know there is a leader in this province, because the leader of the DA in this province is useless. Now they are just using this lady who was here to be a leader of the DA. We are Honorable Speaker, useqala ukuba neimpiko. Ave bezomudla belungu njengoba befuna ukucontesta ngaye, abuye ahlale phansi njengozwakele njengoba uzwakele ehleli lapha efuna ukuba uBrini. Namhlanje he is just useless, seated there and humbled.
Honorable Speaker, we refer to members as honorable.
Honorable Zwakele Mnwango was humbled by the people of this province. He's a non-starter today, seated there. They were rejected together with the speaker who was here. The DA once overrated the speaker who was here. They deployed her to be the manager of the DA election campaign. Guess what happened? They lost everything. Today they are not even an opposition party in this province. Together with the leader seated there. And today they think they can lead this province.
Honorable Speaker, what rule are you raising on, Honorable? Sit down, Honorable Member, until you remember the rule. No, sit down. What rule are you raising on?
52D.
53, okay. Look, I know that you are all in charge there. I respect that. The member that is standing up to speak must speak. The rest must listen. What are you raising on?
52D. To ask a question.
Honorable Sibia, Honorable Ntuli wants to know whether you want to take a question.
No, Honorable Speaker, I don't have time to waste, honestly.
Sit down, Honorable Ntuli.
Honorable Speaker, an indication of a depleting party and a dying party uzoyibona ngokuthi wonke umuntu afuna ukulekelela okhulumayo because they are a lost party. Today, their municipality in Tshwane has been put under administration. They've lost Johannesburg. They've lost Nelson Mandela Bay. They are losing everything. Here in KwaZulu-Natal, they were rejected. Today, they were fighting about the sitting where they should be seated because they know very well that they are just nobody, the province. So we can't honestly even waste our time. I wish the Premier can never respond to what they raise because they are nobodies when it comes in this province. Honorable Speaker, the Russian revolutionary Leon Trotsky, who lived between the years of 1879 and 1940, left us with a deep and unparalleled ideological wisdom. In this House, Speaker, we are elected politicians with serious tasks at hand to respond on the challenges we are faced with through theory that is in tandem with practice. That ideological content is also very important and it matters. The Russian revolutionary once said, and I quote,
and Honorable Ntuli, order.
The Russian revolutionary once said, and I quote, Honorable Speaker, the masses go to the revolution not with a prepared plan of social reconstruction, but with a sharp feeling that they cannot endure the old regime. Only the guiding layers of class have a political program, and even this still requires the test of events and the approval of masses. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, the ANC as a revolutionary movement knew so well that going to the liberation struggle to free South African people needed masses on its side and their approval. It understood so well that our people feel exactly the same way as Trotsky narrates, that they couldn't enjoy the old regime anymore. All they wanted was freedom. Within the ranks of the ANC, we had a guiding layer of leadership which understood the deeper political program and the task beyond the struggle. They had skills, but they also understood that their skills will be tested by many events during the dark days of apartheid. Also, they had to be approved by the masses. And that's why at all times during the struggle, even through the difficult times, even when the ANC was banned, but its guiding layer knew it has to be in touch with masses inside the country. Ingakho Honorable Speaker, ngaso sonke isikhathi sihlale sithi indali ANC futhi sikusho lokho ngaphandle kwamahloni ukuthi ingumbutho wabantu, as it fits exactly to what Trotsky said. Ingakho futhi sisho Honorable Speaker ukuthi uma sithi ANC umbutho wabantu, iumbutho owakhiwa abantu, ayizange izivelele nje. Honorable Speaker, uPremier wethu Ndunankulu izolo ngikathi ekhuluma ukubeke kwacaca ukuthi lesi sifundazwe saKwaZulu-Natal isimo esibhekene naso namhlanje sobugebengu siyisimo esizoliswana naso kakhulu esizoqeda ubugebengu buphele nya. Uma sikhuluma ngobugebengu bokweqisa obeqa imingcele, ukubeke kwacaca ukuthi lobo bugebengu sebuphelelwe isikhathi, nalabo abadla izimali zikahulumeni abacabanga ukuthi lo hulumeni waKwaZulu-Natal ukwama idapele abasebenzi nalabo abangabona abasebenzi, ukubeke kwacaca ukuthi isikhathi sabo siphelile njengamanje. Wonke umuntu ocabanga ukuthi uzokwenza umathanda ezimalini zabantu baKwaZulu-Natal ngeke kusenzeka lokho, futhi uzokwenza sure ukuthi noma ubani noma ngathiwa uphezulu kangakanani unabangani abakuphi uzongena ejele uma ucabanga ukuthi uzozidlela ezimalini zabantu bakithi. Ukucacisile ukuthi kuyimanje kunabantu abasemajele, kunabantu esibabonayo abamisiwe emsebenzini. Yilokho kuyibophezela Ndunankulu esikubongayo okutshengisa iqhaza likaKhongolose ekulweni nokuchashazwa kwezimali zabantu bakithi. Ebugebengwini kuyona yonke into eyenzakalayo, siyabona izinhlaka ezakhiwayo kuyona yonke indawo esifundazweni sakithi. Kuthiwa sonke asibe amashoshozela azoba khona esigcineni azokwazi ukuthi alwisane nobugebengu esibubonayo obuhlula abantu lapha ezindaweni zokuhlala kwabo. Siyabonga ngamavolontiya Ndunankulu asechithwe iprovince yonke ukuthi akwazi ukulekelela abantu bakithi ekutheni balwe nobugebengu. UNdunankulu uqhubeke wakhuluma kakhulu ngesimo esisibonayo la KwaZulu-Natal nase-South Africa yonke, lapho abantu udlame olubhekiswe kubantu besifazane bebulawa egameni lothando. Athe kunjengamanje kunezakhiwo, kunayo yonke iminyango evuliwe ekutheni abantu abahlukunyezwayo bakwazi ukuthi bahambe bayophephela khona, kodwa futhi bakwazi ukusizakala ngoba lesi sihlava esisibonayo esenzeka njengamanje yinto esingakaze siyibone yenzeka emlandweni wakithi. Sikhuza umhlolo sisonke kanye nawe Ndunankulu, sithi ngempela isihlava sokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane nokubulawa kwabo, sithi indlela oza ngayo namaqhinga ofika nawo kucacile izolo ukuthi enye yezinto le okuzothi ngokuhamba kwesikhathi siyibone iphela nya. Kodwa konke kudinga ukuthi sonke thina abantu bala KwaZulu-Natal sikwazi ukuthi sibambisane kanye nawe ekulweni nokubulawa nokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane. Khulunywe kakhulu la ngendlela esibona ngayo isifundazwe sethu uma ukhuluma nge-social compact, la ubunye obekade bungekho khona, ukuzwana obekade kungekho khona, ubumbano obekade lungekho khona. Kodwa imisebenzi ka-ANC kulesi sifundazwe isibeke phambili ukuthi kube nozinzo. Lesi sifundazwe asikaze sibe sesimene sikusona njengamanje la uzinzo esilibona lukhona khona ngendlela esilibona ngayo namhlanje ngaphansi kwezandla zikahulumeni we-ANC. Lokho kuchaza ukuthi sifuna abantu bakithi bahlale ngaso sonke isikhathi behleli ezindaweni bengenakho ukusaba, kodwa futhi bazi ukuthi sifuna ukuyaphi siyisizwe sase-South Africa. Sifuna bazi abantu bakithi ukuthi ukusebenza ndawonye, ukubambisana sisonke ikhona okuzokwazi ukuthi kusenze sikwazi ukuya phambili. Labo esababona bebeka ukucwasa ngokwebala bekukhuluma bebiza abantu ngawo wonke amagama, sithi kubona siphelile leso sikhathi. Uhulumeni okhona njengamanje ka-ANC ubeka abantu bakithi phambili ukuthi basebenzisane kube nokuzwana kube nozinzo lolo sulibonayo kwakungeke kwenzeke ayikho enye inhlangano engakwenza ngaphandle ka-ANC ngoba u-ANC ekwakhiweni kwawo wakhelwa esisekelweni sobumbano wakhelwa esisekelweni sobunye yingakho i-social compact siyibeke phambili siyafuna ukuthi njengoba undunankulu nayizolo ekhulumile ukuthi wonke umuntu akayibophezele kulesifundazwe ukuthi ukuhlalisana ndawonye ukubambisana kanye nokuzwana ikhona okuzokwazi ukuthi kusise phambili umsebenzi owenziwa ile province yaKwaZulu-Natal angeke ufaniswe nalutho namhlanje i-ANC KwaZulu-Natal ibeke lesifundazwe ebalazweni iningizimu Afrika yonke engakaze ifike ibe kulona lapho esiyibona KwaZulu-Natal sibalwa phezulu ngamagalelo ewenzayo kwi-South Africa yonke iphelele ngabe ukhuluma ngakwezomnotho ngabe ukhuluma ngokuqashwa kwabantu abasebenzi iKwaZulu-Natal yona ibona ibekwe phambili akuzenzakaleli kwenziwa ingoba iphethwe ukhongolosi iphethwe inqole emasondo ngoba ngaso sonke isikhathi kuhlale kunendlela yokuthi izinto sizozenza kanjani zibe ngcono kuhlale kunendlela ukuthi abantu bakithi eningizimu Afrika KwaZulu-Natal kakhulukazi impilo zabo sizozenza kanjani ukuthi zibe ngcono.
Thank you.
Siyabonga.
The next speaker for 12 minutes is Honorable A.V. Khoza of the EFF. He is not in the house. The next speaker will be for 4 minutes, Honorable V.R. Mlotshwa of the NFP.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable members and guests. Somlomo, the NFP accept and acknowledge the sober presentation made by Honorable Premier yesterday. The Premier has mentioned that over the past decade, our economy is trapped in a low growth cycle where unemployment figures released recently by State South Africa paint a grim picture of our economy, where 6.9 million, which is equivalent to 29.1% of South Africans, remains jobless. However, he failed to mention that KZN alone has a significant increase of 4.3 unemployment rate. South Africa has millions of unemployment people who have given up to find job. He didn't outline a plan, strategy, and framework on speedily implementing government policies that will inspire the confidence, encourage, and attract investment. Let me ask, does the Premier's office have any database for all unemployment graduates? Ngusho lokhu ngoba ukusuka ku-100 ku-10,000 kuya ku-100,000 okuzokhuphuka ngako sifisa ke Premier sikubonge lokho kodwa kungabi namehlo kubheka abathile abanye kungababheki. Furthermore, Premier, you mentioned that you will fight against under expenditure, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and incomplete jobs. So if we can just give us a plan, how are you going to do that? Because it's a moving up. Our government has no restriction and control over foreigners who are doing trade or business in South Africa. Most of them do not employ South Africans. They do not even pay any tax. Our trucking transport industry is not properly regulated to protect South African truck drivers. Somlomo, what about cable car that the Premier promised last time that it will be connect South Africa, KZN, together with Lesotho? We also need bridges for scholars to cross rivers and more buses in deep rural areas in order to assist learners who are walking long distance. In terms of water, Premier, yes, we understood that you mentioned that there are some districts that will be benefiting, but in fact, the entire province has got a problem of water, of which a proper plan needs to be implemented. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next member for 4 minutes is Honorable Esther Kur Rajbansi of the MF.
Thank you, Honorable Premier.
Honorable Member.
Okay. Honorable Premier, the Minority Front thanks you and your team for the diligent effort on presenting this 2020 SOPA address on the state of KwaZulu-Natal. On paper, it speaks to the motto, growing KZN together. In my assessment, the overall shift to rural, radical agrarian socio-economic transformation RACIT, in line with the consolidation of a strategy for township, expanded by the Economic Strategic Information Development Cluster. Honorable Premier must also note that the RACIT program must be based on the principle of inclusiveness for all previously disadvantaged groups. If we as a legislature are committed to a vision beyond fragmentation, we must undertake the RACIT program once again. As agricultural prosperity being the savior of KwaZulu-Natal, the British had known this in 1860 when they brought Indian indentured laborers or slaves to the then Natal. Honorable Premier, I, my former leader, and at least 800,000 Indians hail from these unsung heroes and heroines. Honorable members, from the days of Dutch spatial policy, towns and country were separate developments. Hence, the current transformation policy must effectively address the network approach, having well-defined principles for spatial organization. Therefore, a process-oriented concept is required for all elements in the 7 plans and the 8 priorities outlined in SOPA page 6. Honorable Premier, this government must be concerned with the large tracts of land lying fallow. More precarious is the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development's assessment of many farms facing serious operational challenges and rendered dysfunctional. True, this does have serious implications for food security and economic growth. The Minority Front urges the Cabinet to take Mr. Kulani Kula's plea as a bugle call for honorable members to come up with a clear plan. As an MP, I serve the low socioeconomic townships of Chatsworth and Phoenix. Therefore, I can express the hope and fears of the communities who feel that our democracy is backsliding, especially people of Indian descent are excluded in the rural economy. Honorable Premier, our focus should be inclusion of all low socioeconomic groups when implementing RACIT. The Minority Front would like to see all apartheid townships, whether Black, African, Indian or colored, their youth should be targeted to revitalize our rural economy together with the marginalized rural communities. If we want to succeed, please ensure that this skills mix, Honorable Premier. This is also the best way to bring about social cohesion through radically integrated spatial development for prosperity and peace. Honorable Premier, this brings me back to page 10 on the 160 years commemoration of the first Indian indentured workers and the erecting of a statue to mark their arrival this November. Finally, thank you. Once again, the Minority Front will only be happy when the entire 10 million rand originally set aside is utilized to acknowledge the development contribution of the first batches of sugarcane, railway, sea netters and mine workers. This is a commemoration to all the unsung heroes and heroines. Many of these brave slaves died or became physically challenged. My late grandfather was one such hero. He never had the opportunity to see me, as he had become blind, working in the Burnside mines. I was only 12 years old when he died. At least I must see this token of appreciation for him in my lifetime, like so many thousands desire. Honorable Premier, His Majesty the King's concern about sex education curriculum in our schools is very valid. It is causing much distress amongst parents and religious sectors. His Majesty's wisdom should be called upon, together with the community traditional leaders who are very influential stakeholders. For success in this crucial subject, we should include all teachers in a child's life, that is parents, religious and school educators, for acceptable curriculum outcomes. There are the concerns that I will debate on later by His Majesty on community strife and the fact that South Africa now occupies the AU chair, which means that all African countries should fast-track a defined foreign policy. Thank you, Honourable Premier.
The next speaker for 10 minutes is Honourable NP Nkonyeni, the MEC for Human Settlement and Public Works.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable Members, namhlanje sikhumbula iqhawe lomzabalazo wenkululeko yesizwe, our gallant fighter uTatu Vuyisilemi mhla esithi basopa nansi indoda emnyama Fairfoot. The ANC shall never forget that song. It was a powerful warning to the repressive apartheid government. This powerful call to action and activism was composed by the actor, poet, dancer, singer, militant trade unionist, 1956 treason trialist, soldier of Umkhonto weSizwe, and hero of the struggle for the South African freedom, Comrade Vuyisilemi. Madam Speaker, we in the African National Congress come from a proud tradition of celebrating and honoring our heroes. We celebrate them because the long walk to freedom and the path to power were paved by their sacrifice. Comrade Mini made the highest sacrifice to water the tree of freedom when he was martyred by apartheid hangman at Pretoria Central on the 6th of November 1964 at the age of 44. Had this gallant freedom fighter, who became involved in politics at the tender age of 17 in the bus fare and rent increase boycott in Port Elizabeth, lived to see the fruits of struggle, we would be celebrating his 100th birthday this year. But Comrade Mini does live. He lives in the flag that flaps proudly in the wind outside this legislature. He lives in the child that is fed a hot meal in a secured government school. He lives in the young mother receiving free high-quality antiretroviral treatment in a local clinic and whose child is free of infection. He lives in every active citizen willing to work in building a united, non-racial, non-sexist, equal and prosperous society. Namhlanje somlomo ngimi lapha ngigqokele ngobo. This dress and this fabric has been fabricated by a black industrialist, Mr. Madlala. I am very proud of the programs that have been introduced by the African National Congress. He has designed this beautiful dress. It does have a lot of meaning and also advocacy for acceptance of that sacred plant that has been criminalized for a long time. Comrade Mini does not live where we have to hang our heads in shame. He does not live among the perpetrators of gender-based violence, domestic violence, and femicide. He does not live among those who do crime and those who undermine safety and security in our society. He does not live among the agent provocateurs engaged in wanton destruction of public property in our municipalities and universities. The Premier, in his rousing State of the Province address, committed government to a 365-day awareness and advocacy campaign on gender-based violence. Let us identify and isolate those who place our girls, our women, our elderly, our disabled, and our children at risk. Our contribution in this SOPA debate is to reflect on the Provincial Infrastructure Development Plan and health, amongst other issues. We are energized by the Premier's overarching theme,
together creating our common future. We are encouraged by the extended list of 8 provincial priorities identified. As the Provincial Executive Council Collective, we are each committed in our individual portfolios to speedily giving substance to those priorities in the spirit of Kauleza and radical socio-economic transformation. The Premier has placed basic services at the top of the list with a focus on clean potable water. Government has developed a water intervention plan to address water challenges in hotspot areas within the next 18 months. We are pleased to note that 84 million rands has been transferred to municipalities to implement immediate interventions. The water-stressed districts that will benefit include Honorable Mbali, Ntuli, Ugu, Uthukela, Umzinyathi, Amajuba, Zululand, Umkhanyakude, and Herikwala. We must appreciate the consultative manner in which the Premier has gone about listening to different views of citizens. We are indeed a caring and responsive government. We welcome and appreciate the turnaround plan implemented in eThekwini Metro to upgrade electricity and water infrastructure, including the 2 billion rands Western and Northern Aqueduct project. Let us be reminded that as a long-term solution, government will, by June 2020, conclude its provincial water delivery master plan. We commend the Premier on the announcement that the significant rollout of telecommunication infrastructure, including broadband networks and digital innovation hubs, is underway. We are also pleased that Dubai Trade Port will provide over 810 Wi-Fi hotspots at 405 selected sites across the province, and that several rural communities are soon to be digitally connected. Siyasebenza. Honorable Premier, the Public Works Department in this province is determined to become the implementer of choice for infrastructure delivery projects. The Premier announced that Public Works will serve as the province's infrastructure nerve center that will coordinate and monitor all government infrastructure projects. That responsibility will ensure that projects are completed on time, with budget, within budget, and meet quality standards. Through infrastructure projects, government is committed to procuring goods and services, especially building materials that are locally produced, as per the resolution pertaining to boosting the local and township economies. Izdini, amatile, opende, amawindow, icapa, sesizoyithenga kulabo abazakhayo kulowo mphakathi esikuwona, esine project kuwona. The process of developing the Strategic Infrastructure Development Agency as one of the strategic tools for infrastructure delivery is in progress. The department's move to reduce the use of private consultants and build its own internal capacity will also improve the turnaround time. And this gives expression to the ANC manifesto to address monopolies and the structure of the economy when it says, quote, central to boosting economic growth and allowing greater participation and empowerment of new entrants in the country's economy is the need to deal with excessive economic concentration and abuse by large corporations and the growth inhibiting structure of the economy. Ingakho ke sizama ukuthi senze ukuthi wonke umuntu okufanele participate in the economy of this province uyakwenza lokho. We are determined to advance radical socio-economic transformation and the empowerment of women, youth, people with disability, or with disabilities-owned emerging companies. This we will do by increasing the reach of ASC's contractor development program, including
Siaka incubation programs, whilst noting that EPWP may be a temporary poverty alleviation intervention, the overall objective is two-pronged, entailing job creation and also skills development. Going forward, EPWP beneficiaries will be assigned in the maintenance of government buildings and infrastructure. We are putting systems in place to overcome administrative challenges of the program. We are also very pleased at the Premier's announcement that 2020 and 2021 financial year, or in 2020 and in 2021 financial year, Transport will invest 8 billion rands in infrastructure development and maintenance. There is positive anticipation around the strategic integrated projects.
Honorable
Sitike Basopa Nansi Ndoda Emnyama DA.
The next member for 4 minutes is Honorable M.E. Pakati of the ATM.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, honorable Premier, the ATM welcomes the speech of the Premier, and we believe that it is bringing hope to the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Asishaye izandla ngomsebenzi omuhle owenziwe eDube Trade Port. Sishaye izandla ngomsebenzi owenziwe Richards Bay Development Zone. Sishaye izandla ngoba siyazi ukuthi kuzovuleka amathuba omsebenzi nabantu bakithi bazothola ukuthi bakwazi ukuphila. Asiphinde sicele kuPremier ukuthi abaqhubeke njalo no-MEC weinkampani zikahulumeni ukuthi banxenxe abatshali izimali kuleli lakithi laKwaZulu-Natal ukuze kuqhubeke umnotho wethu ukhule. Asishaye izandla ukuthi Premier ukwazile ukuthi ume ngaleli langa esezwa ngalo indaba ezimbi zokuthi engekisangena KwaZulu-Natal wama wayilwela leyo nto kwaze kwazofika ekugcineni lapho sekuthiwa khona izobuya. Lokho siyakuncoma kakhulu. Premier, you touched yesterday on the development of the SMMEs, and you've touched on the township economy. But I want us to open our eyes as well to the informal economy in our townships, where it is now exploited by the foreign national. We are not saying our brothers from African countries and other countries must not participate in our economy, but would rather reinforce the informal economy for South Africans, and then let our brothers to go and participate in the mainstream economy. Premier, we thank you that you have a plan for the water crisis. You have mentioned that you have a plan for the water crisis, and we thank you for that. But however, we want you to make sure that you pay attention and close monitoring in terms of making sure ukuthi omasipala umsebenzi ukuthi abantu bakithi bawuthola amanzi ube uqhubekele phambili usheshe futhi. Sibonge Premier ukuthi ukhulumile ngokuthi ezikoleni kuyoba khona ukuthi abantu bakithi ingane zethu zikwazi ukuvikeleka. Siyacela futhi ukuthi lo msebenzi ku-MEC akanyuse amasokisi ekwenzeni sure ukuthi bonke abakhona lapha ezikoleni othisha nezingane bavikelekile. Okuningi ke ngeke ngibe umxovi ngoba abaxovi bakhona sotetela bona bakhulume, kodwa okuningi siyazi ukuthi ama-MEC baseza nama details abazoza nawo ngesikhathi sama budget votes. So ngiyawukhuluma ke kulawo ma budget votes sesitholile ama details of whatever has been tabled in this house. Ngiyabonga kakhulu Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Okay. Thank you, Honorable Member. The next member for 4 minutes is Honorable S.E. Manele of the ACDP.
Thank you. Greeting, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Premier, in the name of Jesus. ACDP welcomes the state of the nation, the state of the province addressed by our Premier yesterday. Kuzeni ngithokoze kakhulu ukubona intervention yakho yamanzi. Futhi ngithokoze kakhulu ukuthi umkhanya kude ube ingxenye ehlomulile lapho ke kuleyo intervention yakho. Kodwa kuzeni ngiyafisa futhi ukurekhoda kuwe ukuthi lapha emkhanya kude khona indawo yasemtubatuba. Lapha emtubatuba khona indawo enjengonkomboso engqopheni uphaphase nezinye engayibala ezingakaze ebekhona amanzi lokhu kwafi lokwathi inhlo nokengele kunjalo. Ngakho ngiyakhuleka Khuzini ukuthi selokusazala amanzi asiwabone kule ndawo sesingaze sife Khuzini siyathemba ukuthi ubuholi bakho khona uzosisiza ngakho. On the issue of youth employment in rural areas, Khuzini, I think much more need to be done to avoid the consequences of the sitting time. In terms of the SMEs, according to the study conducted in 2015, there is a high rate of failure of the SMEs in South Africa, and which gives the greatest difficulties even to us as policymakers. Therefore, there is a need to scrutinize the impact and the relevance of the public and private sector financial support for the SMEs. The business and tourism in KwaZulu-Natal is a wonderful opportunity to strengthen our economy, create job opportunities, and explore our beautiful province. The government must help to formulate the tourism structures and provide capacity building and give them finance, as we have said, to develop the people from the deep rural areas. We thank you, Premier, for encouraging the people, more especially the youth, to write books about their areas, about the information of their areas. This kuyobasiza ukuthi bekwazi ukumasesenza tourism, ukupublicize kahle, bekufake kahle kuma internet nokunye. Thank you, Premier. Inkulumo yakho ibe inhle, sethemba ukuthi uNkulunkulu uzosiza mase implement akwenziwe kahle. God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I was not taught on how to use it when people leave their time. The next speaker for 10 minutes is Honorable MEC for Education, Mr. K.I. Mshengu for the ANC.
Thanks, Madam Speaker, and Honorable Premier, honorable members of this House. Yesterday, the Premier summoned all the people of KwaZulu-Natal to work together in creating their common future. Not only did he make this bold and courageous call, but he went further to outline the basic and fundamental tenets of this future we can collectively call ours as the people of KwaZulu-Natal, irrespective of color, gender, class, or political affiliation. At the core of building this common future is the program of resolving the historical injustices meted against those who constitute the majority of our country. As we seek to resolve these injustices, we should not be guided by a sense of vengeance, but to bring about equal opportunities for everyone. The common future we are summoned to create is the future that Comrade Harry Gwala, whose centennial birthday we celebrate this year, fought for relentlessly until his last minute before departing for eternal peace. As we ceaselessly embark on this journey to create this common future, the legacy of Harry Gwala will remain an illuminating light for everyone who cares to be amongst the midwives of this common future. When we invoke the legacy of Comrade Harry Gwala in this project of crafting the common future, we do so not simply to marvel the star that provided light in the pole of darkness. We do so guided by Karl Marx in his seminal writing on the 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte, where he said, and I quote, "The tradition of all past, and I dare say progressive past generations, weighs like an Alp upon the brain of the living. At the very time when men appear engaged in revolutionizing things and themselves, in bringing about what never was before, at such every epoch do they anxiously conjure up into their service the spirit of the past, assume their names, their battle cries, and their costumes to enact a new historical scene," unquote. Today we conjure up the spirit of Harry Gwala to guide us as we search forward. Mr. Premier, earlier I argued that at the center of creating this common future is the creation of equal opportunities for everyone through the resolution of historical injustices. The government in power is a government of the revolutionary movement which does not rely on mysterious hope or denial of the past to solve the problems of our people. How then should we understand these historical injustices we seek to resolve? Amilcar Cabral, in his writing The Weapon of Theory, correctly argues that, and I quote, "The essential characteristics of colonialism and neocolonialism is the negation of the historical process of the dominated people by means of violent usurpation of the freedom of development of the national productive forces. Such is indeed the history of South Africa." He then points out that the national liberation should be a phenomenon in which a given socio-economic whole rejects the negation of its historical process. In other words, the national liberation will only exist when the national productive forces have been completely freed from every kind of domination. In your address, Mr. Premier, you did not shy away from the pointed programs that seek to completely free these productive forces from any kind of domination. The productive forces should by right accrue equally to all the people of the province and be reflective of the demographics in the true sense. We have boldly asserted that for us to create this common future, 40% of the agricultural land in the province should be in the hands of young people by 2024. This will allow the youth, which constitute the majority of the population, to have access to land in order to participate in the mainstream production and economy after centuries of marginalization. For the greatest time, the majority of those who work the land have not shared its ownership as directed by the Freedom Charter. This commitment also marks, therefore, the qualitative advancement of the injunction of the Freedom Charter that land shall be shared by those who work it. The restoration of the 40% of land to the youth also accord very well with the move by the Department of Education to build a specialized school of agriculture which will produce learners of a special type who will take full advantage of land restitution and engage in commercial agriculture. The days where agriculture was used as a punishment for the African child are receding to the distant past. Our government has responded positively to the call by young people that they don't want handouts but opportunities. The creation of the KZN Youth Empowerment Fund, which was initially capitalized with 71 million, has unlocked 55 youth-owned enterprises and created job opportunities. We welcome the further injection of 50 million in the year 2020-21, which will see more youth-owned businesses benefiting and flourishing. Young people will no longer be sellers of their labor, but will now be owners of the means of production in this common future we are called to build. The program of Sukuma 100,000 is yet another testimony of how this progressive government has placed the youth agenda at the center of its planning and budgeting. No other government has done this in the past. To say young people are the major beneficiaries of your address, Mr. Premier, is to tell the truth. taking care of the youth is a guarantor of success of this common future, because they are the future. Mr. Premier, amongst the antagonistic contradictions that our revolution seeks to obliterate is the patriarchal relations of power. I found no best characterization of these patriarchal relations of power other than from the book by Simone de Beauvoir, titled The Second Sex. And in this she asserts that man occupies the role of self or subjects, women in the object or the other. Woman is the object or the other. He is essential, absolute, and transcendent. She is essential, incomplete, and mutilated. He extends out into the world to impose his will on it, whereas a woman is doomed to immanence and inwardness. He creates, acts, and invents. She waits for him to save her. There can be no common future when women of our province still have to wait for men to save them. Because you correctly realize this, Mr. Premier, we have committed your government to empower women of this province so that they can also be essential, absolute, and transcendent. The commitment by government to enforce 30% set aside for women, with the intention that by 2024, 50% of government spend will be on entrepreneurship for women-owned and led business, occurs very well with our common future, where women have to extend into the world and impose their will. The impact of this commitment will be undoubtedly felt by ordinary women in deep rural areas who stands no chance to be elected into positions of authority and thereby be able to be known and seen and have access to opportunities. For the first time, these ordinary women will be exposed and empowered to take meaningful participation in the economy of our common future. The empowerment of women should also be anchored on the empowerment of the girl child through education. The provision of free sanitary towels to deserving girl learners is aimed at curbing the challenge of girls missing school days because of nature. This intervention has seen the increase in the number of girl learners who are excelling in their studies and therefore stand a better chance to be subjects, not objects. Mr. Premier, the common future we must create should also accord with the realities of the present as heralded upon us by the advent of the fourth industrial revolution. We should understand, and we should understand 4IR for what really it is. The 4IR is in a sense about the change in how we produce and exchange means of production or means to sustain life as a people. It is about automated machines taking over work that was ordinarily done by humans. If nothing drastic is done, production will continue with less human being involved, which will lead into massive unemployment on one side and massive accumulation of wealth by few who owns the means of production. It is in this context that all reasonable persons should welcome and support the government commitment to digital economy as the driver for growth and creation of employment. The digital innovation hubs in the rural municipalities will provide necessary platforms to people to adapt with fast-changing times for communication, production, as well as exchange. I'm particularly pleased that even my own small time of Moliva will benefit from this move, and will move away from being the skunk amongst the family of municipalities. The education sector is intensely challenged to produce skills that are compatible with the demands of the fourth industrial revolution. It is in this context that we are piloting coding and robotics to selected primary schools across the province with the intention to roll them out as full subjects in 2021. In April, the Department of Education will also be convening the summit on the fourth industrial revolution, which should help us to scientifically re-engineer the education sector to be in line with the current demands, or rather the current content and its method. Honorable members, we are all called upon to support the work as we ceaselessly engage in building our common future. Thank you so much.
The next speaker for 6 minutes from the DA is Honorable M. Ntuli.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, it's very sad that the ANC-led government's lack of education has resulted in an honourable member of this House not being able to count. Honourable Jomo came and said here that the DA decreased in votes, but actually he decreased in votes, 1.4 million votes, and 10 seats in this House. The DA, by contrast, grew in seats, numbers, and percentages. But I understand, because we've got a real problem when it comes to the education in this province. And Premier, I ask you, with tears in my eyes, to help the Honourable Sibiya get education regarding maths. When I left here, I've been speaking about health. And again, this comes down to numbers. Our province has 23 billion in medical negligence bills. By contrast, the Western Cape only has 220 million, much of which we are able to sort out. In your speech, Premier, we wanted you to touch a lot more on health and how our health services in this province, under the previous administration, which understandably wasn't your fault, have basically collapsed, and what we can do to get them back on track. I think that the MEC of Health is doing a good job so far, but a lot more still needs to be done to get our province back on track. In the Western Cape, where we govern, and I know you don't like to hear it because it just keeps showing how better things are where the DA leads. In KwaZulu, where residents told us that they needed longer clinic hours, we were able to do that. When they told us that they had to travel long distances to Caledon, we were able to make sure that the clinics were open 24 hours so that if there was an emergency at night, they would be attended to. We have been able to deliver when people have asked us to do so, and that's all we're asking for KZN to do. Honourable Spear also spoke here about how the Premier mentioned gender-based violence, and we want to applaud the Premier for taking on this scourge, because it really is something that is rearing its head in our province in a way that hasn't been seen before. But talking about it is not enough. We have launched a comprehensive province-wide safety plan that is aimed at reducing the murder rates in the Western Cape for specifically gender-based violence. We've taken our 16 days of activism beyond just talking about them and beyond those 16 days, but rather to have the facilitation of Domestic Violence Act compliance that is done all year round. We've also made sure that our police are competently and efficiently able to respond to all cases of domestic violence, in return safeguarding our women and children, and making sure that every single government department is tasked with designing a performance indicator that will measure how the government is actually addressing gender-based violence. I don't want to make this a political football because this is a very important matter, and I would love for our government in this province to do the same with our departments, because then we will be able to have a real way of tracking with methodology instead of just speaking about it. Jobs in KZN are lacking, and almost 1 in 3 people are unemployed. The Honourable Premier mentioned that he had many youth programs that were going to be happening, but I think what we need is some answers around how these programs are accessed, how funding is allocated, and what the procedures are for getting that funding. Because we've heard about the individual youth that have been recipients, and this is not the first time. But if there's anything that we know in KZN is that often it's youth that is very connected to the ANC. And so if we want to make a success of these programs, we want to know how the ordinary young person can actually access these programs and get access to funding. When we were asked to make fundings accessible to people, and when people told us that they were sick and tired of departments that pushed them from pillar to post, we made sure that we opened something called Government's First Thursdays. This is where any single person in the province of the Western Cape can come and have access to our full cabinet and senior government officials every single month. To date, we've had 1,244 meetings with residents, and we've resolved 80% of all the matters that have come to us. It would be great if KZN could have a premier and a cabinet that could do this too. And I think that it would go a long way to restoring the confidence of the people in KZN in the fact that this Honourable House has got people that are actually fighting for them. When we were asked to cut red tape for businesses, we did that by launching a pilot economic war room. And that has been able to bring together private and public players together on a weekly basis to address the issues that are focused on young business people. The Western Cape has now created 24,000 jobs in the new quarter. That's more than half the jobs that have been created in our entire country. The DA in the Western Cape as South Africa's jobs province. And talking to the people of KZN today, I want them to know that we will do the same thing in KZN because the people of KZN deserve a DA-led government. And the road to economic recovery in KZN will begin by creating a capable state. We've put our solutions on the table of what we think we can do. We ask the people of KZN to vote and to look to leaders who are actually willing to fight for them to have jobs and some dignity, because it is clear that our government is incapable of doing that and isn't capable of bringing accountability to their comrades. We hope, Premier, that in your term you'll be able to stop that scourge, but we are doubtful given that we have only had 2 people that have been prosecuted for the charges around corruption that we have seen in our municipalities. And so where you, Premier, will be doing a good job in showing political will to implement change, we will support you. Where that is not the case, we will continue to fight for the people of KZN, and we will make sure that they know that the DA is ready to lead and is
Thank you, Honourable Member.
waiting.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker for 8 minutes is Honourable MP Gwala.
Honorable Speaker, KwaZulu-Natal has continued to suffer water shortages and simply non-delivery of water. It has continued to suffer electricity outages. It has continued to suffer bad roads, especially in the rural areas, and potholes in tarred roads. Bridges have been washed away, and for more than 10 years, there has been no reconstruction. Disasters have swept houses away, and there has been no reconstruction. Schools continue to suffer falling structures, no libraries, no laboratories, no ICT classrooms. Sanitation in schools is a disaster. Maintenance and refuse removal are non-existent in towns, townships, and cities. Health infrastructure is crumbling, putting the lives of patients and health workers in danger. NGOs and NPOs continue to be ignored. So the 2018-2019 and the 2019-2020 20 billions that you spoke about, Mr. Speaker, where they spent. In this province, financial mismanagement and corruption by officials and service providers is never dealt with seriously. Officials mismanage government money, which is people's money, and are allowed to get away with it scot-free. For as long as this state of affairs is allowed to continue, those who steal from government are never going to stop. Officials mismanage funds in one department, and when they are subjected to disciplinary processes, they resign. A few months down the line, they appear again as employees in another department to steal again. Investigations into wrongdoing by officials are slow or absent and seldom reach completion. Where they are completed, wrongdoers get away with murder. Those who are convicted through disciplinary processes are only given a slap on the wrist. Money stolen is never returned to government. Even some politicians are allowed to mess up here and will resurface elsewhere in the immediate future. People see this as a reward for doing wrong. Mr. Premier, in order to stop corruption and mismanagement, government must be strict. Those who steal must be charged and arrested. Those who are arrested must serve their time without any mercy of parole, as happened to Sheikh and the late Jackie Slebe. In his 2019 SOPA, the Premier committed to conducting lifestyle audit in order to deal with sophisticated thieves. To our disappointment, this has not happened. The Premier committed to signing performance agreement with the members of the Cabinet in order to deal with mediocre performances by political heads. To our disappointment, this too has not happened, and we fear that it will never happen because of cadre deployment. Honorable Speaker, let me address the global threat of coronavirus. All continents in the world have already reported cases. Recently, 3 cases were reported in sub-Saharan Africa. The coronavirus is slowly but steady approaching South Africa. The Premier has assured us that his government is ready because 4 hospitals have been placed on high alert. Is that enough? The coronavirus has the potential of shutting down the world. Hospitals and clinics will be overwhelmed and overburdened. Are we really ready for the worst eventuality in this province, Mr. Premier. It is difficult to hope that government will move quickly enough to do what needs to be done. Consider how slowly it has responded to crisis in state-owned enterprises. During the State of the Nation address on the 7th February 2019, the President said Eskom is in crisis and the risk it poses to South Africa are great. It could severely damage our economic and social development ambitions, unquote. In June 2019, the President also said one reason for the lax economic performance has been continued uncertainty in the supply of electricity and the state of Eskom. The lesson is clear. For growth, we need a reliable and sustainable supply of electricity. Eskom is facing serious financial, operational, and structural problems. 13 February 2020, the President said the recovery of our economy has stalled as persistent energy shortages have disrupted business and people's life, unquote. Government need to respond much faster and with much greater boldness to the problems we face. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the IFP is a champion of social cohesion. We appreciate the Premier's statement that building society cohesion is a key imperative, and we welcome the commitment to erect a statue before the November 2020 commemoration of the arrival of indentured Indian laborers to our shores. We encourage all our people to participate in this commemoration. We must understand this as part of our shared history. It is only embracing a shared history that we can work together to create a common future. On the same theme, Honorable Speaker, the theme of the State of the Province address, the IFP must sound a warning on how we remember the conflict of the past between various components of the liberation struggle. The Honorable Premier has said that the commemoration this year of 25 years since the Shobashobane massacre should be used, and I quote the Premier, to deepen peace, consolidate reconciliation, and promote political tolerance, unquote. If that is what we seek to achieve, it matters how the story is told. We cannot change the history, but it takes two to tango. We know that the People's War was a two-way street of violence, counter-violence, revenge attacks, and even preemptive violence. Members of the ANC and IFP attacked and killed each other. Many lives were lost. That history must be recorded and cannot be forgotten. But we are now in a time of democracy in which we have committed to seeking reconciliation and peace. Let us remember, therefore, how the families of victims of black violence in Thokoza sought healing from the wounds of the past. In October 1999, members of the ANC and IFP together invited the then president of the ANC, Mr. Thabo Mbeki, and the then president of the IFP, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, to visit Thokoza and to unveil a monument together. The lives lost on both sides were commemorated together, after which a joint rally was addressed by both leaders. Thokoza was the birth theater of terrible violence, yet a wound was healed. In the way that reconciliation was approached, both sides were involved. If we are to use commemoration to deepen peace, consolidation, reconciliation, and promote political tolerance, we need to take an example from Thokoza. This is all the more important as the IFP and ANC seek to finalize the long-standing agenda of reconciliation and peace. Honorable Premier, we know that in your speech, you mentioned that Ugu has been supplied with 2 water tankers, honeysuckers, 2 honeysuckers, a grader, 2 TLPs, an excavator, and a refuse compactor. Mr. Premier, are you not know that Mr. Mkhize, who calls himself an Inkosi Nyavini, claimed that this machine belongs
thank you,
to him
Honorable Member.
and is held by him? In fact, the 2.
Honorable Member, thank you. Your time has expired.
Fraser, we ask.
Your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is for 13 minutes, Honorable MEC Finance, Mr. R.R. Pillay.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm tempted to respond first to Honourable Gwala and Honourable Ntuli, but on reflection, let it wait its turn in my response. Let me start by saying that I am quite honoured to be part of this debate, having not just listened to the Premier yesterday, but understood his State of the Province address in the context of the daily work that he does and the comprehensive plan that has been put together to deal with our challenges, but also build on our successes. I think the Premier would be the first to say that the building of the capable state is one of the main priorities to underpin, to provide the machinery to implement the things that we want to do. And I can assure this House that that plan of building the capable state is very, very much underway. Indeed, it's not a new commitment, and we accept that we could have made better progress, but I'd like to quote from the National Development Plan that seeks to define what a capable state needs to do. One, build a professional public service that serves government but is sufficiently autonomous to be insulated from political patronage. Let's note that I'm saying political patronage, not political direction, because the administration must be subject to political direction. Make the public service and local government administration careers of choice, develop technical and specialist professional skills, improve interdepartmental coordination, take a proactive approach to improving relations between national, provincial, and local government, strengthen delegation, accountability, and oversight so as to make it easier for citizens to hold public servants and politicians accountable, particularly for the quality of service delivery, strengthen local government, develop an enabling framework for local government with active support and oversight from national and provincial government, and clarify the governance of SOEs. I think this House will recognize that all these things is a work very much under progress, and that a lot of work is being done to achieve these objectives. For example, where the NDP enjoins us to make the public service and local government careers of choice, we have responded by offering internships to hundreds of young people who have been placed in administrative positions across municipalities and departments. Where we are called upon to ensure maximum cooperation between all tiers of government, we have responded by implementing the Kauleza district coordination service delivery model, ensuring that we start to do it exactly that. The Premier spoke at length about how we are enforcing consequence management and strengthening oversight through various mechanisms at both provincial and local government level. And I know there's a misrepresentation by some of the speakers about some of the statistics, but I'm not going to steal the Premier's thunder. I'm sure he'll give us some more precise statistics. But I recall yesterday the Premier spoke about Msunduzi, where there are 30 to 40 staff members currently undergoing disciplinary hearings, and at this municipality some staff members have been dismissed while others are on suspension. Indeed, we can do more to enforce consequence management, and I think tomorrow in the budget speech I will also be speaking about that, because as part of the tools and techniques and instruments of managing the budget effectively. Honourable members, this debate takes place in a month in which the late comrade Robert Resha would have turned 100 years. He's not one of those very well-known leaders, but is one of those leaders whom we need to acknowledge and celebrate. It is important that we take a little bit of time to remember and to remind ourselves of the contributions that he and many like him made towards our emancipation. He was born in 1920 in Bolotwe, Queenstown. He was a prominent member of a new generation of leaders who emerged in the ANC during and after the 1952 Defiance campaign. He completed just 8 years of formal schooling, and in his late teens went to work as a miner on the reef. After several years, he was dismissed as a troublemaker, after which he took up freelance journalism, moving to Sophia Town in Johannesburg around 1940. He later became the sports editor of the New Age and also wrote for The World. In the late 40s, he was an active member of the ANC Youth League and was jailed for participation in the Defiance campaign. Committed and powerful on the public platform, Comrade Resha was co-opted into the ANC's National Executive Committee in December 1952. In early 1953, he replaced Comrade Deliza Nji as Transvaal President of the Youth League. He even took over as acting president during 1954 and 1955 when bans restricted the League's national president, Joe Matthews. The government scheme to remove African residential areas west of Johannesburg involved Comrade Resha as a volunteer-in-chief of the ANC's efforts to mobilize resistance. In fact, one of his speeches became a prize exhibit in the treason trial. As one of the first string accused in the trial, Comrade Resha was held with 29 other defendants, but was finally acquitted in 1961. In 1959, during the course of the trial, he helped to launch the ANC's boycott campaign at a mass meeting in Durban. He was shortly thereafter banned from attending meetings and restricted to Johannesburg. After his acquittal, he left South Africa and became a major representative of the ANC in exile, serving in Algiers and other ANC offices abroad, and on numerous occasions speaking for the ANC before the United Nations committees. He showed tremendous energy, resourcefulness, and wisdom in all his activities, in publicizing the struggle of the South African people against apartheid, in organizing assistance to the victims of apartheid, and in promoting support to the resistance in South Africa. He died in London in 1973. At that time, his wife was General Secretary of the All Africa Women's Conference based in Algiers. As we continue on our path of nation building, we remember fallen heroes and heroines like Comrade Robert Resha. We believe he would have been proud of our efforts towards building a united and prosperous KwaZulu-Natal. Let me take this occasion also to remember someone who was mentioned in the obituary statement today by the Speaker, Prithviraj Ramkissoon Dule, who died in Denmark last week, Thursday. In fact, his funeral is on now as we speak. And I'm grateful to the Premier for taking a minute out of his program to go and light a candle for him outside, which hopefully we can send to the family. Prithviraj Dule was my teacher. He gave to me my first political consciousness in 1973 and 1974. He was a teacher who was activist as a teacher. He started in the Black Consciousness movement but soon joined the ANC. Fearing arrest in 1977, he went into exile in Africa, worked at the Solomon Mahlangu Freedom College in Tanzania. In fact, became ill there through malaria. Was then deployed to Denmark to be part of the international struggle. Came back to South Africa in 1992, was a lecturer at DUT, continued to be an activist, was a critical voice of the ANC. Was not just some passive person. Spoke, he wrote a book, Salt Water Runs Through My Veins. And I'm honored to have this opportunity today to pay tribute to Prithviraj Dule as one of thousands of people who made the contribution to the struggle, and we're pleased that we have an occasion to recognize him today. Honorable Speaker, I must say that the Honorable Gwala's first session, what I thought was very reasonably sober and balanced. The second session, I thought you lost it a little bit, Honorable Gwala, when you were a little bit one-sided in your criticism to say that nothing has been achieved in a whole range of fronts. I think you yourself will know, and as you travel through even the rural areas, you will know that the 15,000 houses that were built in that last financial year, you'll know how many hundreds of kilometers of roads have been upgraded, you will know the number of clinics that have been built, you will know the number of schools and been revamped. Yes, there's things that are outstanding, and it's your job as the members of the opposition to point that out, but I would have expected that balance, which is largely there in your input, but I need to correct that it has been an exemplary contribution by this democratic government with the limited resources that it has. In fact, I think our people know it. Honorable Gwala he's saying something which I don't think you all heard, but we've agreed that when he says that, I must say to him, go and tell the cows to stop grazing. So that delivery record is there, it's powerful, it's indisputable. And Honorable Ntuli is not in the House at the moment, but I can't let it get away without going on record in response to some of the things that she has stated. I mean, firstly, I'm not a social media person. I mean, having regard to my age, don't follow it too much. But I managed to pick up this one where she's on a campaign to save the DA. She's on a campaign to save the DA. Now, what's so wrong, what's so sick with the DA that she has to have a campaign to save it? And that's the question we need to ask. But the answer is very simple. The answer is very simple, is that our people have simply not responding to your message, not responding to your actions. As recently as last week, you lost 3 wards, 2 in the Western Cape. You lost them to the ANC. Today, Swane is placed under administration, under your watch. You have lost Johannesburg. You have lost Port Elizabeth. You can't manage a coalition. What do you think? Why do you think you'll be able to manage the country? I think we must look at history. You see, of all the parties in the House, it's the ANC that has the deepest roots. The IFP, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is repeatedly saying, was born of the ANC. NFP is born of the IFP, which ultimately comes from the ANC. Even the DA, they will claim, the credit they will claim is that Helen Suzman's record, part of Helen Suzman's record was to go and visit and give support to Madiba of the ANC. There's no other legitimacy in history that you can claim. Even the minority front, Honorable Rajbansi, the late Mr. Rajbansi will claim one of his biggest victories is Madiba coming to have lunch at his house. The point I'm making is that the soul and history of our country is captured within the ANC. And until we understand that, we won't understand why our people will respond in such overwhelming millions to the ANC, despite our considerable challenges. And that's where you are beating a dead horse. Because the things you claim are things that we have admitted, the things that we have committed to self-correct about. And the reasons that you are sliding in your paws, the DA in the moment, is that you don't have a cause. The people can see, even your own constituency, significant elements of white members can see it, that the ANC is doing the right things to take our country forward. Of course, you're beginning to lose your right wing. That's why the FF Plus has become so much stronger. And don't say that you shouldn't be too happy about the fact that we might have lost some votes, which we admit and we're going to reclaim. You shouldn't be too happy about the fact that the votes we've lost it to the EFF in this province. I don't think your constituency would be too happy. You should be supporting us in doing the work that we need to do to deliver our people, to avoid the populist, nonsensical, ineffective policies that the EFF might bring. They're not in the House, so that I won't spend too much of time on that. But come back to the capable state. It's clear that it's a work in progress, from SARS to the NPA, to even the treasuries, DSD's got a clean audit. There are classic examples of excellence that we simply need to build on, and under the leadership of the Premier, I'm absolutely confident that we're going to achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, we have now come to the end of the debate that we were having. And with that said, we will now give the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Honorable Zikalala, an opportunity to respond to the debate.
Thank you,
Premier, sir.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members of this House. I'd like to start by appreciating all members from all political parties that who contributed in this debate. Right from the beginning, we have undertook to work with all political parties in the interest of all people of KwaZulu-Natal. And that is the commitment we have upheld, and we will continue to uphold, because we, the ANC, understand quite well that we represent the people of this province, not ourselves. The ruling party's overwhelming electoral support is the basis upon which we lay claim that the ANC is the leader of the society. Majority of this country, majority of the people of KwaZulu-Natal have confirmed that the leader of the society is the African National Congress. We derive our legitimacy from the people on whose behalf we serve. And at all material time, we must respect the best wishes of our people and never regard them as ignorant of the implications of their choices. For us as the ANC, we are inspired by Chairman Mao, who once said that the people are the motive force for change. Honorable Speaker, we'd like to take this opportunity to remind members of this House that on the first day of the legislature, His Majesty the King called on all of us across political parties to prioritize key issues for development of this province. We need to understand that and ask ourselves whether this debate have lived to that expectation. The ANC embraced that call because we also equally carries the hopes of the majority of the people of our country, and because of the affirmation by the Freedom Charter that the people shall govern. In our SOPA address, we said, together creating our common future. We said so because we know that we, the government, can have plans, but those plans are dependent and they need the participation of the people of our province. The people are the agent for change. They are the ones who brought liberation under the leadership of the African National Congress. As the ANC government, we will always be particularly biased to those who come from the poor, the working class in particular. We also understand quite well and embrace that there are those who are in the opposition. They will oppose because sometimes we have different opinions, and that is accepted. Sometimes we've got different policies and ideologies. That must be accepted. But there are those who will want to oppose primarily because they are politicking and they want to grandstand. And therefore, we must separate between the two. I believe that I'll be speaking on behalf of the entire members of this House if I say that all of us understands our challenges. We've said the first challenge, even in this debate, is economic growth and distribution. And all of us concur that the critical growth will only emerge from key sectors. And we say the sectors are agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, ocean economy, strong and vibrant SMMEs with strong rural and township economy. On either side, the right and the left, we all agree on this. Secondly, we agree that job creation constitutes the critical challenge, especially for the youth of our country. Thirdly, we all agree that fight against crime and gender-based violence and the creation of the social cohesion and moral regeneration is the priority. We all have agreed here that the state we are building should be a developmental state, fighting corruption and ensure that we embrace the principles of Batupile, of placing people first. We have also agreed that the basic services, especially water, remains the priority of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, having said all of that, how are we going forward? Are we able to debate these issues in a manner that says this is a coherent plan we agree on? I think we have agreed on priorities that we must embark on. I think I will want to emphasize what MEC Dube raised on the question of women emancipation. Women emancipation will address dependency of women into some people. Even yesterday when we presented the State of the Province address, we alluded to the point that some women in this province are unable to report cases because they are dependent to some people. And I think the point raised by MEC Dube and including Operation Vula Fund, quite important. Now, having agreed on priorities, I'll beg to differ with Honorable Kwala. I firstly agree with him that we are in times that are characterized by great contradictions, which he alluded to. But I will totally disagree that we don't know what to do and what are the plans. He himself have alluded to the plans. Plans to address agriculture, plans to grow tourism. The plan should be about ensuring water. So we are not confused. We know the future and there is a plan. So we've all agreed on that. But it will also be incorrect of us if we don't, and I will want to also, while addressing issues raised by Honorable Gwala, address all of those who have hinted or commented on the issue of job creation. I'm not sure which data we use, but the official data used in this country is from State SA. And from State SA to Umbali and to Honorable Ntuli and Honorable Mlotshwa, it contradicts what they say. In each and every quarter, KwaZulu-Natal is creating more jobs than the jobs that are shared. Now, go to State SA, analyze that on job creation, and don't come with things that are not factual. Honorable Gwala further continued and engaged on poverty, Gini coefficient. When you calculate according to the measure of Gini coefficient, it is between 0 and 1. The more closer you are to 0, the less inequality and the issues of poverty. And I must say that there was no data during the time of the apartheid regime covering especially townships and rural areas. Now, the Gini coefficient will tell you that inequality is at 0.6, which is worse, must be addressed. But in addressing that, we must not undermine the fact that we have eradicated absolute poverty. We've dealt with absolute poverty, especially in South Africa, but particularly in KwaZulu-Natal. Absolute poverty is when there is someone who will go to bed without a meal. And that is what we've addressed through social intervention packages that we have introduced as the ANC-led government. I want to also address the issue of issues raised by, well, let me say, maybe we don't get news. We sometimes get busy. We spoke about promenade in Durban. Now it seems as if Honorable Mpemba, Honorable Gwala, was out of the country when Mayor Councillor Kaunda opened that, because it is opened. I normally run in Durban. I have also taken that extra 2-kilometer run, and you can join me and see, it is there. I'm not talking about something. If you was not in the country, allow us to assist you. I emphasized yesterday that the 30 million reserved for Umkhuze is still there, including the investment. But I further said we're now allocating 6 million for market. So we are practical. We're not just talking about paper dreams. Look, sometimes a person does not live as he thinks, so your life is not determined by your own thinking, but your material conditions influence your thinking and your conduct. Now, in this debate, we're debating here with a party that is going to its own elections, the DA. Now, the candidate is given enough time to debate for a first time, because she must be presented to the society, and then we must, as KwaZulu-Natal, you must affirm your support to her. Well and fine. But because of the nature that in the current moment she is your candidate, she has to say everything, even things that are not existing. She take herself out of KwaZulu-Natal and locate herself nationally as if she is living in a national space, and therefore make even comparisons that are not realistic. In KwaZulu-Natal, the government that is governing on behalf of the entire citizenry of KwaZulu-Natal. In Western Cape, the government that is governing on behalf of the minority, not the people of Kwalanga, not the people of Nyanga and all of those areas. Because you want to deny, I believe that all of us will go to this information. Sunday, the past Sunday, on news in SABC News, we saw a very painful experience. An experience of a very talented karatela. He's very, very trained. He comes from outside the country, has visited a number of countries. He is assisting young people to fight crime. He is training them, but he has no access even to the hall. In Western Cape, in Cape Town, that's what you come here. A government that represents the interest of the minority, not the you are saying, so what? For you, it doesn't matter.
Honorable
it is
members,
a government that can represent.
Honorable members, heckling is allowed at a level where you do not drown the speaker. What you are doing now, honorable members, is not allowed. Don't drown the speaker.
Thank you.
You can continue, Premier.
Now, she brings Western Cape here because she wants to position herself for this national contest with John. Now, you have then taken a decision that, no, you are going to support one, that's your business. But let us be factual on issues that are our priority and not be overwhelmed by narrow issues of your party. Now, let me deal with this issue of corruption. We are told here that we are not dealing with corruption, and I think Honorable Kwala and Ntuli said we are not dealing with corruption. Yesterday we said there are a number of officials suspended. There are people who are already serving sentences. We have said in our own departments, we will keep on dealing with each cases per department. We can't come here with an overall figure. Let me just tell you, in the Premier's office already, Honorable Kwala spoke, yes, about one forensic investigation. We've implemented it. 4 officials are on suspension. You know, I'm mentioning one office, but each MEC, when coming here, they will have to also account on that. Unfortunately, the mentality of Western Cape, you drag it along all over. You come here, you deal with issue of farm patrols at the expense of the farm workers who each and every day are exploited. Some of them are killed. But you come and speak about only farm patrols. We, the African National Congress, are engaging with farmers, including KwaNalu, to ensure that we build an integrated society. Now, I want to deal with this thing. Youth Fund, the Youth Fund was transparent. We presented all of those who receive and who are beneficiaries. They were presented. The selection process was even unpacked to all people, to all districts. For the next allocation, the Premier's office, the Youth Directorate, has been conducting road shows on Youth Fund. Now you come here, you say there is no transparency. What transparency? The list of beneficiaries, the address, where they are working is available. The media can show you the day when we were launching, we were presenting the Youth Fund. You are not also attesting to the fact that this is a first of its kind. It is not in existence in that Western Cape you are claiming here. It's not in existing. Now, I think we need to be factual in our analysis. Let me commend and thank Honorable Spear for engaging on factual analysis, that our analysis when we debate must be based on fact. Irrespective of how much we differ, let us differ on facts. And I think, Honorable Spear, I concur with you, and issues you have raised are quite important. On that matter, let me deal with inaccuracies lamented by some members here, especially Honorable Ntuli. She says, no, there are few water tankers. That's wrong. There are 37 water tankers in Uku. They are not 5. And I want to commit, in the next 2 months, we will be in Ugu, call a big imbizo, and clarify all of that because you are misleading. Secondly, she comes here and argue about the state of municipalities. Now, she says to us, there are 9 municipalities that are under administration.
Honorable Verana, the gesture that you have just said from the... Stand up, Honorable Member. Honorable Verana, the gesture that you have just done to the presiding officer whilst was calling you on order, withdraw it. Thank you.
Well, this behavior is not new. This is a behavior we have always experienced. It is a behavior that was experienced by Solomon Mahlangu when he was sent. We have withstand that and we will continue. You are not going to suppress us because we know we've got a genuine cause to serve. We are serving our people. Let me allude to this issue of municipalities. Firstly, it is incorrect to say there are 9 municipalities under administration. There were 9 before, and one of those municipalities was Ndumeni, which was under IFPDA coalition. Now, that municipality is no longer under administration. The administration has phased out. They are now standing on their own. They are able to sustain themselves. But secondly, in KwaZulu-Natal currently, all municipalities have improved. They have improved. Out of 8, there are 3 struggling municipalities. 3 struggling municipalities. The first one is Empofana. And it is struggling because of revenue that is not there. They can't generate income. We are dealing with that issue. The second struggling municipality is AmaQulusi. The second struggling municipality is AmaQulusi. The third struggling municipality is Umtubatuba. Now, Umsunduze has been struggling. It's now better than these. Now, Honorable Speaker, now the question of unqualified teachers. Firstly, on this issue of unqualified teachers, let's not just come like we are moving on a helicopter view. We, the government of the ANC, integrated the education system that was torn us apart. We put it together, it's one education system. Secondly, khona bakabaphatha lana u-MEC we-education bazi bamshintsha wahamba wayoba yi-ambassador. Wayoba yi-ambassador, u-MEC we-education wakwahamba wayoba yi-ambassador because ama-results were dropping. And thanks Honorable Kwala, thanks Mpepetwa for being honest and appreciating the work that we've done as the ANC government. The truth is truth and it remains as such. But we must then respond to this issue. When we took over, there were a lot of unqualified teachers. Among them, I think in Nambi, 14,000. We have reduced that number to 257. 1,700 of these were told to Gutambano Funda, Bashuleka, and then we terminated their services. So we are working, ensuring. We said we are even sharing now in learning facilities with schools that are in rural areas, urban areas. Now thanks, Honorable Kwala, for commending the MEC and the department, teachers and principals. But you must remember, we are not coming. It's not that the education system started in 2004 when we took over. We took over from a system that was down, collapsing. The MEC had to fly out of the country to become an MEC, to become an ambassador. Now, fact be told, yesterday I mentioned few companies here. I mentioned one, the company called Samsung Electronics. It relocated to Durban. Now MEC Dube Ngube mentioned another company that relocated Conlo. Now, because of this adventurism and populism, grandstanding, without facts, she says, no, the company was already in existence, Honorable Ntuli. She failed to understand that that company has expanded and even increased the employment. Increased the employment, expanded the operations. In quantity, if the business grows, it will say these premises are no longer enough for our operations, then they will relocate to a better, very good and bigger spaces. Now you come here, you don't analyze, you don't do your research, you are not informed, you argue on the basis of grandstanding for your own national conference or whatever. No, don't. Let's be factual. We never only stopped there yesterday. Samsung, it's one of them. Yeneken is coming. There are a number of companies that are seeing KwaZulu-Natal as gateway to Africa, and they are relocating to KwaZulu-Natal. Now, for the second time, 2 consecutive years, the Forbes Women Africa have taken a decision to host their African Summit in Durban, in KwaZulu-Natal. From last year, they were here. Tomorrow, the summit is starting. Now you come with no facts, not analyzing, not reading even newspapers, not even reading your local newspapers that are delivered free for charge to you. Now you come here, you tell us about your campaign. No, we are not going to take that approach. Let me thank Honorable Member Mlocho. Issues of unemployed graduates, yes, we do have a list. We are consolidating it because it is not static. We need to do update. And we're taking the point, Honorable Mlocho, you have raised. We welcome the point. Transparency is important and we will stick on that. Honorable Rajbansi, our approach will always be inclusive. Will always be inclusive, and ours is to build a truly non-racial, non-sexist society. We are not intending to replace a domination of one race by the other. Honorable Nkonyeni went to town about the evolution of our revolution, the background and how our people suffered. But the determination, it is the determination that even today inspired us. It continues to inspire us for the future. Infrastructure development, one point that members are not paying attention to. We are insourcing, we are building the state-owned infrastructure company, something that is not in existence in South Africa. We are building the state infrastructure agency, which is owned by the state. Building from Itala, the experiences we've held, build its capacity, but have a state-owned company. I think, Honorable Pagati, thank you. Thanks for your comments, and we want to assure the people of our province. We will do everything to ensure that SAA continues to service the people of this province. We've had engagement, and we believe that that commitment they've made will prevail. The comment about informal economy, working with World Trade Organization, ATIA, continues to undertake studies on how to assist and regulate informal economy. It was under the leadership of the ANC-led government that we began to build stalls for informal and your people who are selling in streets. So we will continue to ensure that we improve their lives. Unlike in Cape Town, where they are not wanted at all, you can't see them in the streets because they are removed. Ours will not be to remove them, but will be to assist and support them, because the informal economy is quite important as well, and thanks for that point. Honorable Mangele, Your analysis on the rate of successes and failures on SMMEs is correct. And it is because of that reason that our approach now is comprehensive. On SMMEs, we provide training. After training, incubation. And after incubation, we ensure that there is a sustainable market. When we talk about RASET, when we talk about Operation Vula, we do so dedicating it for those people who are in SMMEs. Honorable Mjengu, I will fully agree with you on the issue of the fourth industrial revolution. It is here. It is either we would want to just ignore the reality. That's why we have said in the speech yesterday, we must be prepared for industries of the future. There are those jobs that are, there are those careers that are available today, but they will not be there 10 years to come. And therefore, the issues you have raised are quite important. The issue of working with NGOs, there is, Honorable Kwala, an investigation we are conducting on that issue. And we will be free to share with you the forensic report that is being conducted. And we want to be honest, we are not going to sit here and come here and lie, mislead honorable members. But let me make an example. On Monday morning, Lifeline, one of the NGOs supported by the Department of Social Welfare, employ 183 social development graduates. And we were there, they were there, we were able to see them. They are going out into a program dealing with gender-based violence. So there might be issues of corruption there. Let's deal with those as they are. But on the question of funding, we know where we're directing, even on programs. We're very clear on that. I think, Honorable Pillay, we thank you for your comments and for clarifying some of issues that have been raised here. And for just drawing an understanding on the evolution of our society. And it is because of that that I've emphasized to Honorable Rajbans that ours will not be to replace one race by the other, but we want to build a truly united, non-racial and non-sexist society. Madam Speaker, we have heard the voices of our people. One of them submitting to us is a group of the chairs, they play chairs, led by a policeman. They share with me a video where they are using chairs as part of building family units. These are people who are saying, let us build and create a common future together. But yesterday, after speaking, it was at 14:40, 20 to 3, I received an email. The email comes from one of the people who have read what we presented in the SOPA. And he says, "Dear Mr. Zigalala, I'm Mr. Stembiso Vundla from northern part of KwaZulu-Natal in the small town called Paul Petersburg, an agricultural engineer by profession. Having read the State of the Province address, I'm grateful to witness that there is more attention given to agriculture development. This is a good indication that the province's objective on land reform will be achieved. As an agricultural engineer, my wish is to make an impactful contribution in resolving challenges we face through provision of sound technical input. I will await for your response." These are people we need, who say we are qualified, we want to build together with you as government, in that a dream of our people. The fight against poverty and unemployment and inequality will be won. There is future for us as KwaZulu-Natal, and there is future for our citizens of our country, the South African citizen. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Now, We will move to, oh, you are raising. Okay, the rule. I'm listening.
Honorable Speaker, siyabonga kakhulu kusinikeza ithuba. Cha sithi Honorable Speaker la asibonga undunankulu ngendlela acacise ngayo inkulumo yakhe. Ngendlela anikeze ngayo iDA ama-lessons ukuthi kuyiwa kanjani phambili. Sibonga nje undunankulu besifuna lokho akukuningi. Siyabonga ndunankulu. Uqhubeka kahle.
Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, sit down. You are out of order. But I think I must also take this opportunity to clarify the point of privilege, because earlier on it was misused by Honorable Rogers and was corrected, and now Honorable Smear is misusing it. You call a point of privilege whilst there is a member that is on the podium debating to raise either something that will relate to you as a member having been affected or an agent thing. You can't, when there's no one debating, usuku mejwaha no sotobe on a point of privilege, a question of privilege. It's not done. But now let's go to the next item, item number 8.2, the tabling of the KwaZulu-Natal Second Adjustments Appropriation Bill 2020. That will be tabled to us by the MEC for Finance for 20 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. I can assure you that I will not need anywhere near 20 minutes. It's a very happy item. If I had time in the previous debate, we would have spoken about it, but I'm sure the members of the opposition, IFP and DA in particular, will go and give press conferences on this item as soon as the session adjourns. Madam Speaker, this is the Second Adjustments Appropriation Bill, and I table the bill, explanatory memorandum and the Gazette. The province of KwaZulu-Natal is required in terms of a government notice to table an amended Adjustments Appropriation Bill for 1920, referred to as the Second Adjustments Appropriation Bill 2020, Government Gazette number 42050 and number 43060, were published by National Treasury on the 28th of February 2020 and 2nd of March 2020 respectively. These gazettes, which are attached for ease of reference, were published in terms of the Division of Revenue Act and provide information on adjustments to existing allocations to provinces in the 1920 financial year. The gazettes therefore update information that was published in the Division of Revenue Act and are in accordance with sections 19 and 20 of DORA, which allow for the stopping of the transfer of funds from some provinces and the reallocation of funds to other provinces respectively. In short, these provisions allow the Minister of Finance to approve the stopping and reallocation of funds. In terms of KwaZulu-Natal's appropriation, the government notices affect the Education Infrastructure Grant under Vote 5 and the Human Settlements Development Grant under Vote 8. In total, 298.5 million received by the provinces as follows. In compliance with Section 19 of DORA, the National Department of Human Settlement stops the transfer of funds to the Northern Cape, 26 million, Gauteng 250 million, and Free State 118 million from the Human Settlements Development Grant, following revised allocations by the National Department of Human Settlements. In compliance with Section 19 of DORA in 2019 as amended, the National Department of Basic Education stops the transfer of funds to Gauteng, 184 million, 184.339, Limpopo 131.270, and Northwest 225.621 for the Education Infrastructure Grant following the revised allocations by the National Department of Basic Education. The above funds, in compliance with Section 20 of DORA as amended, were allocated to various provinces, with KwaZulu-Natal's allocation being as follows. The National Department of Human Settlements reallocates 98.5 million to KwaZulu-Natal for the Human Settlements Development Grant following revised allocations by the National Department. And the National Department of Basic Education reallocates 100 million rand to KwaZulu-Natal for the Education Infrastructure Grant following revised allocations. The attached second adjustments appropriation bill highlights the effects of these changes on Vote 5 and Vote 8. While these allocations have been made rather late in the financial year by the Departments of Education and Human Settlements, engagements with the two departments demonstrated sufficient capacity to spend, hence the allocations. I therefore tabled in this House the second adjustments appropriation bill with its explanatory memorandum and the associated schedule. This is good news indeed. Once again, tribute to our department's ability to spend, and would have been very relevant information for the previous debate, but I won't dwell on that. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, MEC Pillay. Honorable members, now we will refer the bill for processing by the relevant portfolio committees, Portfolio Committee on Finance, so that it will come back to be debated and voted on. We are coming to the end, but Honorable Premier, any announcements?
No, thanks, Honorable Speaker. The only announcement is just to indicate that it is not for the first time that funding and allocations not used in other provinces get allocated to KwaZulu-Natal, and that is because of the capacity and the manner in which we are working as government. I thank you.
With that said, I want to thank you, all of you honorable members, for how you have attended and conducted yourselves in today's sitting. We also thank and appreciate our guests that are with us. With that said, we will all go to Hall H for lunch. The House is adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow, the 7th, same venue. I mean the 6th of March, same venue.
Order, Madam Speaker.